Hello and welcome to Arroyo Seco Baseball. My name is Ryan Osborne. Over to my right, Anthony. We have ourselves a good matchup between the Santa Barbara Foresters and the Arroyo Seco Saints. Arroyo Seco so far this year, they are currently sitting at 2-2, and for Santa Barbara, they are 3-0. This is their first road game of the season. For Arroyo Seco, they're just trying to find their stride early on in this season.
Absolutely. I mean, you said it, Santa Barbara hot, 3-0 to start the year, but all home games. This is the perfect chance for Arroyo Seco. Come home, get a big win following their last home game where they really struggled against a tough San Diego team.
And you look at that day when they did struggle, and Arroyo Seco, after their first game, which they beat the OC Riptide pretty handily, they're putting up 6 runs on the board. After that, they go down to Orange County. They face the Riptide once again, and this time, things didn't go so well. They lose by 6. Then they face the San Diego Force, and, well, things didn't go as planned again. 2 straight games that they weren't able to pick up, and then yesterday afternoon, or excuse me, it should have been Sunday afternoon, where Arroyo Seco picks up their second win of the season. Now you're looking at the Arroyo Seco Saints, and you're saying, okay, you're 2-2 right now on the season. There's one guy that you have to look to in this lineup so far, and that has been John Thomas. And if you're going to get yourself more into a winning position, you have to ride the bat of John Thomas. And so far this season, he's hitting over 600. He has 6 RBIs, which leads the league so far. And if you're Arroyo Seco, you're looking at it going, okay, if there's one guy so far in this lineup, he's the guy we have to look at.
You're absolutely right. 9 for 13 so far. That's really impressive, and certainly hope to see him continue to swing a hot bat tonight now that they're back at home against a really good team.
As I drop my phone, but we're all set to go here between Arroyo Seco and the Santa Barbara Foresters. Arroyo Seco, as usual, will be over to our left-hand side, and Santa Barbara will be over to the right. And tonight, well, we also look, in looking at the batting order for Arroyo Seco, you also have to look at the pitching rotation. And the guy going tonight for the Arroyo Seco Saints, Tim Post. This afternoon, also on the other side, Santa Barbara, they have a guy named Garrett Crochet, who so far this year, well, he hasn't pitched yet. He's from the University of Tennessee, kind of a late addition to their lineup, and from what I was told by people who know the Santa Barbara Foresters, Crochet is the guy who can really have a difference whenever he steps on the mound. A lefty who throws around 94, 95 miles per hour. Whenever you have a lefty who is able to put up that much velocity, it really can help you because you change up the look that a batting order can have.
Absolutely, and for the Santa Barbara Foresters, I mean, you look at these scores from these first few games, and it really tells the story. The pitching has done really well for them so far, in addition to the high scores that they've put up in these games. I mean, shutout in the very first win, and only 2 runs in each of the last 2 games for them at home. We'll see if that continues here, playing on the road for the very first time.
Head coach Sean Bueller also talking with the manager of the Foresters staff, Bill Pintar, right in front of home plate as we get set for starting lineups here tonight. This afternoon here in Pasadena, well, it's a hot one here, Anthony, and both of these 2 teams are going to have to deal with it. You and I were around the baseball players as they were getting, some of their media stuff put away early on before the game. We'll say about 2 hours prior, and we talked to them about their uniforms. They said they really love having the different style of uniforms that Arroyo Seco has given them so far this year because of how light they are. And we'll get back to that in just a minute after our national anthem and the start of Arroyo Seco and Santa Barbara.
One moment, please. Thank you. Let's play ball.
Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. Live and on the air between the Arroyo Seco Saints taking on the Santa Barbara Foresters. 2-2 Arroyo Seco, and the Foresters are currently 3-0 this season. As we get set, we'll get to the starting lineups. Santa Barbara will have Logan Allen, followed by Luke Ritter, and then John Jensen. Those are the first three due up in the order, followed by Chase Illich and Utah Jones. Ryan Cash will be sitting in the 6th spot with Luke Coffey and Parker. I believe that is Upton. Yeah, if I can read my writing correctly, that's always nice. But Andrew Wiss will be behind him to round out the batting order, and Garrett Crochet on the mound. For Arroyo Seco in the field, they're going to start off with Tim Post on the mound, a right-handed pitcher for Arroyo Seco, and behind home plate, they will have Bryce Gray. Over at first is Cooper Williams, and at second will be Colin Shepard. Down at third will be Cameron Briggs, and at short is Drew Cowley. Out in left field is Brennan McKenzie. Center field is patrolled by Jacob Jenkins, and in right, Tristan Peterson. So, Anthony, you look at Tim Post on the mound, and while he is a right-handed batter, a lot of times in the collegiate leagues, you see fewer and fewer left-handed dominated lineups. And for Post, it's going to be pretty crucial for him to be on top of his fastball and also in command of the strike zone, considering that he's going to have that advantage of being righty-righty all the time.
Absolutely, and I mean, for the Saints, the pitching was definitely not the strong suit last time they were home, and so tonight you know that they're going to want to make a statement here, coming back and, you know, put on a good show for the fans here and see a really good result here from pitching, because they had to go through a lot of pitchers here on Saturday, so hopefully a different story here tonight for our Saints.
Right on for Anthony Alejandros over to my right-hand side. Anthony, when you look at Jackie Robinson Field, picturesque type park. Slight breeze going from behind home plate out towards center field. Not too much, but picks up as the day goes along. But really what is going to be going against these ball players up until, we'll say, about the 4th inning is the sun directly behind our backs. As it continues to roll on, the sun will be directly in the face of the pitcher and also the middle infielders. As a player, how do you make sure that you don't get affected by that?
Well, that's a tough one. You know, this is definitely a ballpark where you're fighting that, in addition to some other things like this being a really deep ballpark. I mean, you know, you see it here at left field. I mean, deepest part of the ballpark, kind of just one of those unusual quirks to a ballpark that we're not used to seeing.
First pitch will be just inside for 1 ball and no strikes. And as you mentioned it, let's in fact get to the dimensions. Down the left field line is 374, and in center is 364 with 345, the shortest porch in right field. There's a breaking ball that goes just inside for 2 balls and no strikes by Tim Post. He's taking on Logan Allen, Luke Ritter, and John Jensen to start things off for Santa Barbara. Right-handed batting Logan Allen gets set, very open stance as Tim Post goes into his wind. This is slapped down to third and just off the glove of the third base person for Arroyo Seco, Cameron Briggs. So there will be the first single of the afternoon, first hit of the day for Santa Barbara, and already they have a runner on.
Just over the head there defensively. And we saw a lot of that on Saturday here. A lot of base hits just on plays like that were just out of the reach of these guys in situations where, you know, we would definitely hope to be getting the out.
So now coming up will be Luke Ritter. Ritter,
yes, yeah.
slightly open stance as a right-handed batter. This ball gets away just for a moment from Bryce Gray behind home plate. And staying over at first will be Logan Allen. Santa Barbara Foresters, Arroyo Seco Saints this afternoon. Game time start right around 6:07, 6:08 as Post goes into the set. Now the wind blowing from the right field corner. This one is smacked into center field. So very quickly, Santa Barbara not only getting their first single of the game, but now they have 2 runners on, first and second, and the Foresters already looking to strike early.
Don't want to run into the same problems you had here on Saturday. This is kind of how every inning was starting out for them, and it's kind of what ultimately was the demise of the team in that game. was just not getting that first out. We know how important that is in every game, and definitely don't want to see that repeat here once more.
So now Post is going to have to deal with two guys already on base. John Jensen is the next guy up, and he is a lefty. So he'll take a look at Post, and Post delivers. This one is sent foul directly behind home plate, and it will get on out of play. Bryce Gray behind home plate from Notre Dame. You can definitely tell he is part of the Fighting Irish because you look at his ball cap. Perhaps those watching online, you can see how shiny it is. It gives off a glare. You can see that gold paint that's on top. Next delivery from Post, a beautiful breaking ball that Jensen is well ahead of. It's no balls and 2 strikes after the foul and a swing and a miss. So now going back into the set will be Post. He's going to take a look at the sign from Gray. He goes into the set, takes a look over at second, delivers home. This one gets away from Gray. It goes all the way to the backstop, and instead it is a hit by pitch. As it goes off that front toe of Jensen, he'll walk his way down to first. Over to third goes Logan Allen, and Luke Ritter up to second. So very quickly, you said it, Anthony, they need to get that first out, get themselves into a rhythm, but they haven't been able to do that yet, as it ends up going single, hit by pitch, and the bases are loaded for Post early on here in this top half of the first.
Very curious to see how Tim Post handles this one now. Runners on all bases. This is a very crucial point of the game here and very early.
Bases are loaded. We will see what Tim Post is able to recover from, as this is smacked towards that left-hand side, and it gets well out of play.
What are y'all getting on that one?
California Collegiate League.
You guys know how to troubleshoot.
Already in play, an 18 league with one affiliate as well. We talked about it early on last week in the first game that Arroyo Seco ended up playing. And multiple teams already had multiple games under their belt, as a high strike is in there for Post, and quickly he's up on Chase Illich, 0-2.
Currently Illich, the last guy you'd want to be facing at this point here with bases loaded, just swinging a very hot bat right now early in the season for the Foresters.
Into the set goes Post. He's going to take a look in for the sign. Post to the set. Quick peek over at first. Next delivery to the left-handed Illich is down to second. Picking it up will be Shepard. He'll toss over to short, on to first by Cali, and it will be not in time. So they get the force out over at second. A run does come across. So the fielder's choice for Shepard ends up allowing 1 run to cross. Santa Barbara already up 1-0. 1 run on 2 hits. So retired is John Jensen at second. Moving down to third is Luke Ritter, and Illich is up to first. Half fielder's choice will be recorded as a 4-6 outside half. 1 ball and no strikes as Utah Jones steps up. We're in the top half of the first inning, just looking to get underway and settle into things, but already Santa Barbara is on the board. They already have that 3-0 record, looking strong just entering this one, as this is sent in towards left field. It's going to get towards the foul line and finally end up out of play. Making a good chase out in left field was Brendan McKenzie, but he wasn't able to catch up to that one before it shaded his way past that out of play marker. 1 ball and 1 strike. Top 1, 1-0 Santa Barbara. So that rhythm that you were talking about, Anthony, Tim Post has not been able to find it quite yet, and we'll see whether or not he can get back into this one. He sends a fastball that goes towards that outside half, but stays too far out, and it's now 2 balls and 1 strike.
Got to think defensively too. That double play there would have done wonders for these guys, given just the way that they started out this inning, putting the first 3 on, even giving up the run. A double play would have been huge.
At the plate, Utah Jones. He fouls this one off to the left-hand side. So far, Jones in 14 plate appearances, hitting .385. And you look at the averages for the Santa Barbara Foresters to this point. You start with Isaac Coffey, .750. Chase Illig is sitting at 615. Cameron Woods at 500. John Jensen at 500. Logan Allen 400 and Utah Jones 385. This is a team that can hit. This ball is just towards the inside in the dirt, and taking second base will be Chase Illig. So he has a stolen base. And now Santa Barbara with one gone, already runners on second and third once more.
Even tougher now having them at second. Takes away double play opportunity here to get out of the inning quickly. Gonna have to do work here for Tim Post.
Post delivery, that goes well outside. So on a 3-2 pitch, he tries to go after that outside corner, doesn't get the call, and moving up to first will be Utah Jones. Again, Santa Barbara with the bases loaded in the top of the first inning. Things going awry here for Arroyo Seco early on. And for Tim Post, obviously not the way that you want to start off a game, but it's got to be hard for a starting pitcher to think, okay, I'm going to start this game off. I'm just looking for that first out. And all of a sudden, you're already down 1-0, bases loaded for the second time.
A very tough situation to be in for Tim Post. First start here for him, and definitely hope to see him get out of this inning here as quick as possible. Got runners on every base, nowhere to put them now. Got to get the job done.
Going behind home plate will be Bryce Gray. Coach Bueller walking out to the mound to have a quick word with Post. Tim Post out of Columbia. He's a sophomore over there, 6'2", 185. A right-handed tosser. Top one, 1-0 Santa Barbara. He goes into the wind once more, inside half for a strike, as a swing and a miss comes from Ryan Cash. So he's already up ahead. Ryan Cash out of Oklahoma State. He's a junior over there. And he can bat switch, 6 foot, 152. He sends this one in as a towering sky towards shallow center field. On with it, but not making the catch in center for Arroyo Seco will be Jacob Jenkins. One run will score, getting back in time over to third will be John Jensen. So Luke Ritter comes around to score on a Texas leaguer. And Illig goes down to third. Utah Jones up to second. Ryan Cash with a single. It's an RBI, and it's quickly 2-0 Santa Barbara.
Blooper there by Ryan Cash. Just landed in no man's land. Nobody able to get there in quite enough time to make that one happen. And now we still got bases loaded up here, one out.
Now you have the sweet swinging Isaac Coffey to the plate, or excuse me, Luke Coffey. Luke hitting .333 and immediately sends this one into center field. One run is going to score. The toss goes down to third and is cut off. 2 runs come across to score. Illig is across. He makes it 3-0 and 4-0 with Utah Jones coming all the way down from second base. Ryan Cash up to second. Luke Coffey over to first, and he has a 2 RBI single into center field. This one is getting away from Arroyo Seco in a hurry. Tim Post struggling just a little bit early on in this one. A total of 4 hits so far for the Santa Barbara Foresters. Runners on first and second with 1 gone. Post finds the sign, takes a long look over at second, and checking on Cash. He delivers home, and it goes in the dirt for 1 ball and no strikes. So Anthony, you see kind of a struggling Tim Post on the mound. He's trying to get back into this one, and for Arroyo Seco, they are very quickly behind 4-0 with 1 gone in the first.
Yeah, we talked about it at the beginning, the potential to score runs for this team.
That goes well high above the letters for a total of 2 balls and no strikes.
Yeah, for Santa Barbara, all their games so far, first 3, 7 runs scored is the lowest for them so far this year. So definitely a team that's done a lot of hitting, a lot of run scoring, and that trend continues here so far in their first game on the road, very first inning in.
Luke Coffey now has his 3rd and 4th RBIs of the season as this one tails inside to the left-hand hitting Parker Upton. And Upton with a 3 ball and no strike count. Luke Coffey over at first. Now hitting a grand total of around 250, or excuse me, 350. Ryan Cash at second, already with an RBI. Cash has not registered stolen base, and I mean, rightfully so. You're on second, you only have one out, so it's not necessarily a running situation. 3 balls and 1 strike. Not getting the green light at home is Parker Upton. Next up for Post, and it's a high strike, swing and a miss by Upton. So Post is able to tie up the count, or at least make it a full count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Goes behind 3-0, comes back with 2 strikes. And now he's trying to put away the batter, Parker Upton, who's in his first at-bat. He is already the 8th player to come up to the plate for Santa Barbara. Next delivery, swing and a miss, tossed down to third. The tag is applied. It is not in time, though. Getting around the tag to third is Ryan Cash. So just moments ago, we mentioned that he did not have a stolen base so far this season. A double steal for Santa Barbara, and Cash gets around the tag. So it's a swing and a miss for Parker Upton. 1 strikeout for Tim Post.
Even not getting those runners out, definitely very important for Tim Post mojo here, getting that first strike out of the game, and see if he can get this last out.
Now Andrew Wiss is up. He takes inside for a strike. Wiss has 4 at-bats this season, 5 plate appearances. Also has 2 RBIs. He's batting .250. Top 1, 4-0 Santa Barbara. Post doesn't like what he's seen from Bryce Gray. Steps off for a second as a helicopter goes over top. So partially, they break in the concentration. Wants to reset quickly with Bryce Gray behind home plate. Post to the set. Sand-colored glove delivers home, and a swing and a miss by Andrew Wiss. Now he's behind, no balls and 2 strikes, and you just said it. It's great for the confidence of Tim Post to get that first strikeout, and all of a sudden he's throwing 5 straight strikes. Post finds the sign. Runners on second and third. Next delivery to home, and this one is sent towards the left center field gap. It's going to get over, and making the catch in left field would be Brennan McKenzie. So that's going to end the inning on a fly out to left field. And it ends up being 4 runs on 4 hits, no errors, and 2 runners left on base. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the bottom half of the first for Arroyo Seco. And it's 4-0 Santa Barbara as we end the top half of 1. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball.
Mid-American Nazarene.
My name is Ryan Osborne. I am joined by Anthony Alejandres. And Anthony, tough way to start things off with Tim Post ending up giving up 4 runs in that top half of the first. But now, Arroyo Seco has a chance to get into it with their bats.
Yeah, you talked about at the beginning, riding the hot bat on the team, John Thomas being one of those. And right now, this is it's going to be a big moment for him. I mean, coming into the game in a 4-0 hole already.
Jacob Jenkins, followed by Cameron Briggs, and then John Thomas, as Anthony was mentioning. First one is fouled off to the right-hand side by Jenkins. Crochet on the mound. That is Garrett Crochet. He delivers, and this one is kind of bloofed over towards that right-hand side, but into foul territory. Looks like it may have been a broken bat there for Jacob Jenkins. So he's going to run into the dugout and get him some new lumber. No balls, 2 strikes. Bottom half of 1, 4-0 Santa Barbara. Arroyo Seco is in their normal home white uniforms with Arroyo Seco script across the front. Home whites as a fastball goes much too high, and the count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. For the Santa Barbara Foresters, they are in their away jerseys this afternoon. We'll say that is, what, crimson, maroon as the top, and then a royal blue lettering as this one goes too high. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Outlined in white. They're going with the gray pants this afternoon, and crimson or maroon stirrups. Well, Jacob Jenkins isn't too happy with the stirrup or uniform matchup as he ends up getting struck out looking. Doesn't like the call, but he will have to retreat to the dugout, and 1 strikeout very quickly for Garrett Crochet. So far the scouting report on Crochet is that he's a tall left-handed pitcher, and that is pretty obvious just by watching him. This one goes low and inside. But the big thing for Crochet is that he can bring the ball with velocity. He's out of Tennessee, and he can throw 94, 95 on the gun. That first one was straight 2, but just inside. This next one is right at the knees and delivered to Cameron Briggs. Briggs so far does not have an at-bat. And that is a ball. 2 balls and 1 strike. 4-0 Santa Barbara. Everyone on that right side of the infield slightly deep. You look over at second base for Santa Barbara, where Luke Ritter is patrolling. He's about a step onto the outfield grass. Right at the edge at shortstop is Utah Jones. Next delivery, this is bounce off the plate and also off the leg of Cameron Briggs over to the right-hand side, and it will get its way out of play and foul. Let's get right to that defensive lineup for Santa Barbara. On the mound is Garrett Crochet, as we mentioned earlier. Behind home plate is Chase Illig. Over at first for Santa Barbara will be Luke Coffey, and at second base, Luke Ritter. Down at third is Ryan Cash, and short is Utah Jones. Next delivery is a straight fastball, high, 1-hopper over to first. And picking it up in time is Luke Coffey. So he will take the grounder himself over at first. And 2 outs are on the board with John Thomas up next.
John Thomas, number 25.
We'll quickly finish off that defensive lineup for Santa Barbara. In left field, Parker Upton. In center field is Andrew Wiss. And finally, in right field is Logan Allen. So here's John Thomas, the left-handed batter for Arroyo Seco. And the next delivery is just in there for a strike. Pulling the strings on that one was Garrett Crochet. No balls and 1 strike. Anthony, you look at John Thomas and the way he stands in the box. Very commanding type hitter. And he sends this one foul left-hand side into the crowd.
Commanding, a great word to describe it. So far, these first few games, absolutely great for him. 9 for 13, 692 average. Great way to start this season.
That 692 average is actually top 8 in the California Collegiate League. And he immediately fouls this one straight back to our broadcast location and makes it no balls and 2 strikes. Some pace on that one from Crochet, but John Thomas able to just stay alive. Next up for Crochet, it's a fastball. But keeping to the task will be John Thomas, and it's fouled off to the left. So it stays at no balls and 2 strikes. Ryan Osborne, Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. Joining you from Brookside Park, Jackie Robinson Field here in the city of Pasadena for some Crown City baseball this afternoon. Next up, it's a breaking ball, and wouldn't you know it, John Thomas, if you ask him for a hint, he will most likely deliver and sends this one into the left field gap. He's able to make a big round over at first, but instead he'll just keep it at a single. So there's hit number 1 for Arroyo Seco, and they have a base runner on now with Tristan Peterson coming up next.
Thomas continuing to string the hot bat here for the Saints. See if they can string together some hits.
Crochet with John Thomas standing over at first. He'll deliver, and that will end up being a hit by pitch on a straight fastball by Tristan Peterson, or excuse me, to Tristan Peterson. He was on the receiving end. Up to second will go John Thomas. They check on him, make sure that he's all right. Just ends up clipping him on that left thigh. And now we're going to see Cooper Williams, as you hear in the background, out of New Mexico State. There are 2 outs on the board, and now Arroyo Seco with a runner on second, their first base runner in scoring position. Arroyo Seco so far this year, only 4 stolen bases, 3 of them coming from Jack Smith and the other from Colin Shepard. So this top half of the lineup, not as apt to steal, as a little bit of a change on that one comes from Crochet, and he delivers up and in to Cooper Williams. Williams hitting exactly .500, only has 2 at-bats, but he also has 1 hit. It was a double. So he has 2 total bases, but also a strikeout. And he finds the next pitch, not to his liking, but called right at the kneecaps. So it's 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 gone. Bottom half of the first inning, a 4-0 score for Santa Barbara. Next delivery, that is chopped over towards second, trying to get there and making the tag over at first base, or in between second and first on Tristan Peterson, will be Luke Ritter to end the inning. So it ends up being a ground out over to second. That will end the bottom half of the first. We're going to go to the top half of the second. It's 4-0 Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. This is Arroyo Seco baseball.
You guys doing the music?
No, sir. That's down there.
Thank you, Sean.
Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. My name is Ryan Osborne, joined by Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. Anthony, Santa Barbara coming back to the dish, and wouldn't you know it, it's the top of their lineup.
Absolutely, and way to add insult to injury. You know, a tough first inning, and now you got to face the very top of the order again. The top of the order, the part that really hurt you the first time.
And they're going to start it off with a single as this is bunted into the infield. Looked like it was a little blooper, and normally in those situations where you see a bunt go up in the air, you're thinking, oh, that's a mistake. But it's just able to die in front of Tim Post and get out in front of Bryce Gray. So it's an infield single for Logan Allen, and that's the second hit of the day for Allen.
Yeah, not the cleanest bunt you'll ever see, but both pitcher and catcher came in for it, and neither of them able to come up with it in enough time, and he's already long down the line.
So now you're looking at Logan Allen and saying, wow, that 400 batting average that he had before the game. He's also going to take off here and run towards second. The throw is not in time. So Allen making his overall effort being felt everywhere. Allen now has his third stolen base of the season. He's up at second, and already Santa Barbara with something cooking here in this top half of the second inning. Luke Ritter is at the plate, and he has a 1-ball and no strike count. There's Post, and he will hit Luke Ritter.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
And for the second consecutive inning, runners on first and second base before getting that first out.
UCI.
Tim Post gonna have to go work here.
Jensen, number
Very
7.
tough way for Post to be able to start things off. We've already covered the fact that you want to get into a rhythm, whether it be a pitcher or a fielder for that matter. You just want to get that first out and see how you can kind of manufacture everything else from there on out. But for Arroyo Seco, they just haven't been able to get those first couple guys out. And the last 2 innings, it ended up really coming back to hurt them. Or excuse me, last inning it came back to hurt them. Now you've got runners on first and second, a very speedy runner in Logan Allen over at second. Next up for Post, and that goes outside. This ball gets away on the toss back. 1 ball and no strikes.
You spoke to getting in that rhythm. Once Tim Post got that first strikeout last inning, they were able to make quick work of that last batter. You definitely want to see Tim Post here find that rhythm again.
Post out of Columbia, not the nation of Columbia, but Columbia University. So this is fouled back straight to the screen. Right-handed pitcher, 6'2", 175, out of Rolling Hills, California, went to Loyola High School. Graduate of Loyola in 2017 in Los Angeles, so local to the area. Then goes out to Columbia to pitch. He's got a 1 ball and 1 strike count, and he will deliver in the zone, and it's fouled off to the left-hand side, way skied towards that road over our left shoulder. We'll say that's Arroyo. And it ends up out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
That one might have made it all the way to the Rose Bowl, in fact.
And you mentioned that, the fact that the Rose Bowl is so close by. I mean, we're looking at just 1 parking lot away. Alex Scar and I kind of had a discussion about that last Thursday, as the pitch is a swing and a miss, and being retired on a strikeout for Santa Barbara will be John Jensen. But moving up to third is Logan Allen, and Luke Ritter over to second on a double steal. So now Logan Allen, in just this inning, has doubled his stolen base output in the first few games.
Been a big problem these first couple innings, the stolen bases, and that trend here continues now into second inning, but now with 1 out.
Post looks towards that outside corner, but can't get the call. And it's 1 ball and no strikes with 1 gone. 4-0 Santa Barbara, as we are in the top half of the second inning. On the mound is Tim Post, trying to find his rhythm here. He's already got 1 out. And the next delivery is hit towards left center field. It is skied. It continues to carry, and it will get its way on out. A home run for Santa Barbara's Chase Illig. So wouldn't you know it, on pitch number 2, he sends an absolute skyrocket towards the left center field fence, and he will make his way down to the dugout after hitting a 3-run shot. And now Arroyo Seco is in a deep hole at 7-0.
And who else but Chase Illig? We talked about it multiple times already, swinging a hot bat here to start the season, and adds a 2nd home run of the season now, and to second deepest part of the ballpark.
We already talked about the dimensions early on in the broadcast, the fact that it's 374 down the line and left, and 345 into right. So he hit that one, we'll say, about 100 feet away from straightaway center field into that left center field area, and it went, well, by our estimation, what, 8-10 feet beyond the fence?
Roughly, I think you're about right.
So he hits it around 374 towards that left field side. And it just had a lot of carry on it. It looked initially like it'd just be a little blooper out towards medium to deep left center field, but getting back on it and continuing to go back was Jacob Jenkins. And then he finally just ran out of real estate and looked up and watched as it ends up landing past that left center field fence. So 3 runs come across here for Santa Barbara. We've got 1 out and a 2-2 count to Utah Jones. Home run came from Chase Illig, and this is out towards center field, but it's a little blooper that can be handled at second base by Colin Shepard. So Shepard will make the catch, and that will make it 2 outs on the little blooper.
Number 5, Ryan Cash.
Here's Ryan Cash, and last time up, he had an RBI single into center field. You look at the Santa Barbara Foresters, how many home runs they have this season. Well, up to this point, they only had 1. And who was it by? None other than Chase Illig. Entering this game, smacked into center field by Ryan Cash, and he has himself a single. So 3 runs and 3 hits in the top half of the second. And Chase Illig, he has home run number 2 this season. RBI total moves up to 8. So he is now in the top 3 in the CCL. We're inning number 2.
Right up the middle there for Ryan Cash. And, well, the hits continue to come in here for the Foresters.
Post is going to be called for a balk. And moving up to second base will be Ryan Cash. So that's not one that you see every day, not one that is called very often, especially at the college level. But Post is called for a balk, and he drops in a breaking ball. Nice pitch by Tim Post to get back into it. No balls, 1 strike, runner at second with 2 away in the second inning.
For Post, not a whole lot of time so far in this game has been spent without runners in scoring position.
And that's a good point there, Anthony. He hasn't been able to really work on his normal delivery because most of this game he's been going out of the stretch.
Yep, all game long, they haven't been able so far these first 2 innings to get the first out of the inning. They've had runners on first and second before getting the first out. So, like you said, pitching out of the stretch.
That one is in the dirt. Did he go around? The appeal is over to first, and he did not. So Luke Coffey still has a chance at the plate, and he has a 1 ball and 2 strike count. Luke Coffey, entering this game, was hitting .333. Now he's at the .350 mark after having himself a single and 2 RBIs earlier in this one with a bouncer into center. Looks like Bryce Gray may have caught a little bit of that ball as it came up and bounced in the dirt. Our score is 7-0, Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. Looks like Tim Post is walking over to get a little explanation from our home plate umpire as to why the balk was called earlier. And as we said moments ago, it's not one that you see very often. But when it does get called, it is normally for a pretty good reason. And it looked like on that specific play, Post came to the set, but ended up maybe losing his balance just a shade. And because of the loss of balance, he has to step off the rubber and didn't do it in the correct manner with that right foot coming off and behind the pitcher's mound. They're still checking on Bryce Gray right in front of home plate. 7-0 Santa Barbara, Arroyo Seco when they come up to bat. Next, they will have Brennan McKenzie, followed by Drew Cowley and Bryce Gray, who's currently being attended to.
Let's hear it for him, ladies and gentlemen.
So Gray looks to be okay, and he'll step back in there. Back up to the plate is Luke Coffey. Coffey has 1 extra base hit this year. He was a double. And he has 4 RBIs. He doubled his RBI total. Going with no batting gloves, a right-handed batter who offers at it and sends it into the parking lot over towards our right-hand side.
And for Gray doing a very good job defensively here early in the game. Of course, that was one of the tough parts for these guys a couple days ago here at home. Just a lot of defensive mistakes that really helped cost them in that game and really added a lot to the 14-run total they gave up in that game.
There's a foul that goes off pretty much to the same location over to our right-hand side. You look at the league standings so far. Arroyo Seco is currently 2-2 overall record, but in league they are 2-1. And Santa Barbara being 1-0 in league, they are at the top of the CCL standings so far. This is grounded foul left-hand side. Arroyo Seco sitting in the number 3 spot. So it goes Santa Barbara, then Healdsburg, then Arroyo Seco, followed by Orange County. Orange County already playing 5 games in league. Them along with the Conejo Oaks. Those are the only 2 teams to have played 5 in league. Orange County 3-2. Conejo is 2-3. A lot of this really relies on winning percentage overall. Next up from post, looked like it was a little bit high, and it will be called as such. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 2 outs, 7-0 Santa Barbara. They're still at the dish. We're in the top half of the top half of the second. Not quite so far along. As Post goes into the wind, it's a breaking ball. It's going to be right back to him. He'll pick it up and underhand toss his way over to first, and making the catch is Cooper Williams. We're going to take a quick timeout. Our score is 7-0 for Santa Barbara. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. Ryan Osborne, Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. So we get set for this bottom half of the second inning. Arroyo Seco coming up to the plate. They'll have Brennan McKenzie, followed by Drew Cowley, and then Bryce Gray. These 6, 7, and 8 batters. McKenzie, a right-handed hitter. And so far this year, he has had himself 11 at-bats and 1 RBI, hitting 091. Not the greatest start that he would have liked. He's quickly down 0-1, and he offers at the next pitch. Brings back his left foot and ends up fouling it into the crowd to our right-hand side. Nice attendance here on hand behind us. A lot of people coming out here just to see some quality baseball being played in the summer. This is fouled back to the screen, throwing some straight heat on the mound. Was Crochet on that last one, tried to send it to that outside half, but staying alive was McKenzie.
Such a brutal start for the Saints in this one. That McKenzie taking his first at-bat of the game, and already in an 0-7 hole here to start this one off.
Santa Barbara getting 4 runs in the first, 3 runs in the second, as McKenzie goes back in there with a 1-ball-and-2-strike count. He offers it. This one sends it down the third base line, but it ends up getting into foul territory. So stays at 1-2. Second inning, 7-0. Santa Barbara, the visitors. Out in right field for Santa Barbara is Logan Allen. He's a couple steps in. A couple steps back is Andrew Wiss in center. And at even depth in left field is Parker Upton. Again, fouling this one straight back is McKenzie. So he's staying alive pretty well in there and making sure he sees as many pitches as possible. Right-handed hitter, Brendan McKenzie. McKenzie, next pitch, swing and a miss. So he will go down swinging. Strikeout number 2 in this game for Arroyo Seco and Garrett Crochet. Up next is Drew Cowley. He will step to the plate.
Now back.
The shortstop, who so far is hitting
Cal
well
Pomona, shortstop,
towards that top
number
part of
21,
the lineup.
Drew Cowley.
And Cowley has
number
6
21.
RBIs. Unfortunately for him, he's not in an RBI situation unless he can drive himself across with a home run. First pitch is in there for a strike, had a little bit of movement on it. Drew Cowley, the lefty, comes up 0-1. Next delivery is just a shade low. Beautiful take there by Cowley, making sure that he finds the one he would like, and he ends up getting the call. 1 ball and 1 strike. Next opportunity, Crochet delivers too low. In fact, it hits the dirt before it gets to the catcher's glove.
Cowley really working this pitch count here, and very important to do right now. I mean, they're already in a huge hole in this one, but with Tim Post having to work really hard in this one, definitely want to see these guys work the pitch count here and get his pitch count up.
3 balls and 1 strike. Garrett Crochet on the mound, a lefty, 6'5", 210. Next delivery, he snaps that one in there, but it will be a walk. So Drew Cowley comes up and he works himself a walk, and now he'll be on at first as Arroyo Seco.
Bryce
Drew Cowley on.
Number
So far, no stolen base attempts. And he has his 5th walk of the season, so he has a lot of patience at the plate. 5 walks and just 2 strikeouts early on. Here's Bryce Gray stepping up. Gray, a right-handed hitter, a lot of movement as he steps up to the dish and immediately takes a fastball outside corner for a strike. No balls and 1 strike. Crochet, as a freshman at Tennessee, appeared in 16 games and started 11 as a true freshman. And finished the year tied for 2nd on his team with 5 victories. Bryce Gray has himself a single into center field. Falling in center for Santa Barbara for just a second was Andrew Wiss. Had a quick little stumble. And thinking of taking that extra base was Drew Cowley, but instead he's able to watch it and wisely make his way back to second base. So Bryce Gray gets the 2nd hit of the day for Arroyo Seco.
Line drive base hit right up the middle. And now we got runner in scoring position here and just 1 out.
Crochet in his first game tossing for Santa Barbara this season. Finished this last year with 62 strikeouts. And he finds a strike inside half. 62 strikeouts, which ranks 5th in program history for most strikeouts by a freshman in a single season. He had 7 strikeouts and 4 2/3 innings of relief against Mizzou on May the 17th, just about a month ago. 7-0 Santa Barbara. Arroyo Seco is at the plate. Up at the dish is Colin Shepard. Shepard this season hitting .250, has a stolen base and 3 strikeouts. Also can work the walk. He has 5. 1-1. Crochet's next delivery, a lot of power behind that one, and he finds the strike at 1-2. Crochet earned his first win of his career at number 8 Ole Miss. That came on March the 16th. This one bounces in. keeps it at 1 ball and 2 strikes, or makes it 2 balls and 2 strikes, excuse me. First win of his career, he allowed 6 runs on 10 hits through 6 2/3. But wouldn't you know it, even though he allowed the 6 runs, Tennessee won it 8-6. So not the kind of expected start you would think for a guy to get a win when you allow 6 runs on the board. But nonetheless, he got his first career collegiate win against number 8 Ole Miss. Made his debut in Tennessee's season opener against Maryland. For the most part, early on in the season, he was just a relief pitcher for the Volunteers. Next delivery, that is chopped left-hand side once more, and it ends up going into foul territory. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Second inning, 7-0 Santa Barbara. 1 out with runners on first and second for Arroyo Seco. Colin Shepard at the plate, Bryce Gray at first off of a single, and Drew Cowley, after working a walk, is now at second. Next up for the left-handed hitter. Shepard offers and sends this one towards third. It's picked nicely over at third by Santa Barbara's Ryan Cash. He'll step on the third base bag and toss across in time. Colin Shepard grounds himself into a 5-3 double play, and that will end the inning. No runs on 1 hit, no errors, and 2 runners left on base. Our score is 7-0 Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball. Brian Osborne, Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. We get set for inning number 3, and wouldn't you know it, there's a new pitcher on the mound there, Anthony.
Yeah, you said it. Tim Post out of the game after 2 innings. 0-7 ball game now. And so now the pitcher from New Mexico State comes up here, Wyatt Kelly.
And he delivers his first pitch, is in there for a strike. No balls and 1 strike. Got to talk a little bit to Kelly before the game. That was mostly during the time that he was trying to get some media pictures and media stuff out of the way before warming up for this afternoon. Talked about how bright it was and how they had to deal with the sun here in Pasadena. And it's weird here at Brookside Park, Jackie Robinson Field here in Pasadena. It kind of changes in temperature as this one is sent towards left field. It's a deep shot, trying to get back in time, and making the catch at the track will be Brennan McKenzie in left field. So it's a deep shot by Parker Upton, but instead it gets caught in left. So that will be out number 1.
And great job there by McKenzie. I mean, he got a little bit of a late break on it, and because of that, really had to run that ball down and was able to make that play. Great play by him.
Number 8, Andrew Wiss.
Part of the reason why he also makes that catch, that 374 marker in left field, he's maybe about, we'll say, 100 feet away from it. It was a pretty deep part in left that that ball was hit to. And if you swing that one around towards that right-hand side for the left-handed batting Parker Upton, that would have made its way out.
Yep, you said it. Mentions this ballpark quite interesting. You don't get cheap home runs here.
Next delivery from Wyatt Kelly goes up 2 high, so he is behind in the count, 2-0 to Andrew Wiss. After that, it will be Logan Allen, and if the inning continues, Luke Ritter. Wyatt Kelly out of New Mexico State. As that one gets bounced, and it will send its way over towards that right-hand side. Out of Rio Rancho, New Mexico, he is a senior. 8-9 appearances last year at New Mexico Junior College. 9 appearances for the Thunderbirds, 17 strikeouts over 12 1/3 innings pitched. It's a pretty good ratio overall, but instead in this case, he will walk Andrew Wiss. So for the 3rd straight inning, Arroyo Seco has allowed Santa Barbara to get a runner on.
Logan Allen, number 17.
Fortunate here as far as for Wyatt Kelly. I mean, able to get the first out of the inning, obviously runner on now, but first inning of the game so far now that we've started out without runners on the bases before getting that first out.
Wyatt Kelly will have to go from the stretch for the first time in this game. And he does go to the set. Quick back pick over towards that right-hand side. Getting back in time is Andrew Wiss. So he is sliding in there safely. Nearly gets picked off by Bryce Gray. You like the thought there. And they actually nearly had Andrew Wiss dead to rights. Caught him leaning for a second over towards second. Kelly sends this one down low in the strike zone, but getting around to send it into center field will be Logan Allen, and they're going to toss it over towards second base, or over to third, not in time. Sliding in there safely will be Andrew Wiss. So he had a great turnaround second base, and it will be a single and an advancement on the throw for Logan Allen.
Center fielder there really had thoughts of throwing him out at third, and because of that, ends up unfortunately giving up an extra base here on that hit.
We're in the 3rd inning. It's 7-0 Santa Barbara. 1 out is on the board. This one gets away from Bryce Gray. It's going to stay all the way to the backstop, and getting home and coming around to score on the wild pitch will be Andrew Wiss. So some aggressive base running for Andrew Wiss on the single moves him up to third, and due to that aggressive style of running, he now works himself around to score on the wild pitch that is delivered while Luke Ritter is at the plate. So Logan Allen will move down to third, and with 1 hit on the board, another run comes across the score. It's 8-0 for Santa Barbara.
We talked about it at the beginning of the game too. So far for the Foresters in 3 games, 11-0 in the first game, 7 runs scored in each of the last 2 games. And I posed the question, can they keep it up, their first road game? And well, would you know it, we're only in the 3rd inning, and they've already done better than their last 2 games, putting up 8 runs here early in this ball game.
To the set will go Wyatt Kelly. He's got a runner over at third, and he delivers outside. So as you said earlier, Post not having the greatest of starts, but he did have some bright spots as well. Worked himself a couple of strikeouts. Looked pretty good. His movement was fine.
Certainly.
But now you have Wyatt Kelly on the mound in the 3rd, giving up 1 run. He does have 1 out on the board, but this one goes low once more. Kelly pulling it just a little much. 3 ball and no strike count. We'll see whether or not Luke Ritter has himself a free ride to swing. 4 at-bats, has a .250 batting average, and he will take that one up and high. So he has got a walk, And wouldn't you know it, Luke Ritter with 3 at-bats here today.
Designated hitter,
He has been on base all 3 times.
WCI,
And he's gotten on base 3 different ways.
number 7.
Very impressive start to the game for Luke Ritter, and just the story of the day so far. I mean, you said it for him. You know, getting on the bases in a variety of ways, and that's kind of the tale of the story for all these hitters in this game. You know, there's been some hit by pitches, there's been some great hits, but really just a variety of ways here.
Speaking of hits, this one is smacked into center field by John Jensen. It's a single, and coming all the way around to third is Luke Ritter. So it's just kind of one of those days for Arroyo Seco. Every team has them where you don't really get off to the start that you would like, and then all of a sudden things just kind of snowball a little bit through the first 3 innings. Every team has had it at one point or another. I mean, just personally, my experience over at Cal State Fullerton, you look at the way that they started their season, 1-7. They got blown out in their series against Houston. Blown out in their series against Stanford. They were swept by Stanford. Well, that didn't really matter later on in the season, because once a team starts to put everything together, pitching comes around and gets a little bit more experience on the mound, a little bit more opportunities to toss. And all of a sudden, that team went on to win a conference championship and make it all the way to the Super Regionals and came within 4 outs of Omaha. So if you look at that and you look at Arroyo Seco and you say, well, not the start that they would like in this game, but certainly a lot of time to turn it around. I mean, we're only in the 3rd inning as this one is sent a mile into the air, but well behind home plate by Chase Illig.
Certainly, baseball, definitely a game of resiliency. And so for the Saints, I mean, like you said, only the 3rd inning of the game. A lot can happen here before we get down to the end of this one.
Final line earlier on Tim Post. He ends up going 2 complete innings, giving up a grand total of 7 runs as the toss down to second by Bryce Gray won't be in time. So a steal by John Jensen over at second, though it does keep the runner Luke Ritter over at third. It is another stolen base for Santa Barbara. One thing that Santa Barbara does well, especially in this game, is causing havoc when they aren't at the plate. Guys who get on base, those base runners continue to move themselves around and across simply by making sure that they stay aggressive.
Lots of stolen bases here so far early in this ball game.
There's 7 stolen bases so far for Santa Barbara. A half swing that is given by Chase Illig, but instead he pulls back in time. And for the 3rd time today, he is on base. So now the bases are loaded with 1 out. Prime position for Arroyo Seco to have themselves a possible double play. Not to mention, you also have that opportunity of having a force out at any bag with the bases loaded. Wind sweeping in from that right field corner towards center. Next delivery over towards first and finally getting its way out of play. Just in time for Arroyo Seco. Otherwise, that'd have been trouble. Utah Jones is at the plate. He had a walk in his first time up and then popped up to second in the 2nd. Right now we are in the 3rd, 9-0 Santa Barbara. No ball, 1 strike count with 1 gone. Here's Kelly into the wind. He brings a breaking ball. That gets sent foul and off to the left-hand side and finally reaches his way out of play.
Being just 1 out into the 3rd inning, you said 7 stolen bases. And for Santa Barbara, as many stolen bases as they have retired batters so far in this game here. Really aggressive on the bases so far.
They've got the bases loaded. They have a chance to score once more. To the set goes Kelly. And he'll deliver a little blooper over towards that left-hand side. It lands just foul. Arroyo Seco will take it, considering how well that ball was placed. Just a little blooper beyond third base, and it was kicking out towards that left field corner as well. So it would have been in no man's land for McKenzie in left field to be able to get on and try to get that ball into the infield, and it was far past third, where Cameron Briggs was chasing after it. Next up for Kelly, that goes low. And Bryce Gray is able to make that catch. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 9-0. Santa Barbara, they have a chance to strike once more. Kelly into the set. And he will deliver once more, and that goes too low once again. 2-2. Just trying to deliver to home plate. Preferably, he would love to find some contact on the ground. Arroyo Seco slightly back and pinched up towards second base for a possible double play. Kelly has to bring it home, though, and he does. It's sent out towards deep right field, trying to get back and making the running catch. In right field will be Tristan Peterson. Coming around on the tag will be Luke Ritter. He will come across to score. So now 10 are on the board for Santa Barbara. And moving up from second down to third will be John Jensen as well. Staying at first is Chase Illig, and Utah Jones will take it. He has himself a sacrifice fly into right field, which moves a run across, and he has an RBI as well.
Very fundamental game so far, fundamentally sound game so far for Santa Barbara. They're stealing bases, getting sacrifice flies, doing it all right now so far in this ball game.
They only have 2 hits in the inning and already 3 runs across. Wyatt Kelly trying to limit Santa Barbara. This time it will be defensive indifference, as moving up and getting to second base in time will be Chase Illig. Right now, Arroyo Seco would much rather just take the out and get out of the inning than risk that ball getting into center field or getting away altogether.
You mentioned we got the Rose Bowl right behind us. Well, right now we're looking at a touchdown and field goal game here very early on. 10-0 here on the scoreboard.
A little bit of a conversation going on in between both of our dugouts here this afternoon. Coach Bueller to our left. Coach Pindert over to our right. That goes just below the knees to Ryan Cash. Cash in this game has 2 singles, 2 RBIs, and also advanced on a balk. Not a walk, a balk. 10-0, Santa Barbara. Wyatt Kelly into the wide. Next delivery is sent towards deep left. McKenzie makes 2 steps back, and he will make the catch. That's going to do it for the inning. A fly out into left field. And that will do it for the inning. 10-0. Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. We're going to go to the bottom half of the third, and when we come back, Arroyo Seco will bring up the top of their lineup. So we're getting set for this bottom half of the third inning, a lively game to say the least. As we go to this bottom half of the third, top of the order is up for Arroyo Seco. Jacob Jenkins, Cameron Briggs, and John Thomas, the three up for the Arroyo Seco Saints. And after this pitch, Anthony, we have another new pitcher, this time for Santa Barbara.
Yeah, Miles Sandrum, left-handed pitcher coming into the game out of UC Santa Cruz.
He will deliver high. It's another lefty in this lineup for Santa Barbara. The first guy who was in and who started off the game was Garrett Crochet. Crochet finishes off the day, allowing no runs on 2 hits. And he will exit after striking out 2 guys as well in exactly 2 innings of work.
And for the Saints, I mean, they may not have gotten any runs, but in that last inning, we're definitely starting to work the pitch counts a bit.
Wouldn't you know it? On the next pitch, they send the ball into center field. Jacob Jenkins is on.
Please. Now batting for the Saints, third baseman.
Nice for the Saints to get a runner on here with that,
Number 6,
that single now. A runner on base before getting first out of the inning.
So that one goes into center field. Next delivery from Sandrum. That's going to stay up high. Cameron Briggs is at the dish.
Cameron Briggs at the plate with a runner on first. As I said, first time we got a runner on first without an out already in the inning. So looking to do some damage here early in the inning with a new pitcher on.
You look at Sandrum on the mound. Almost looks like he's around the same height as we saw the first guy, Garrett Crochet, for Santa Barbara. Crochet, 6'5". You look at Sandrum, and he is 6'4", so pretty close there. As you mentioned, out of San Diego.
Attention, please. Now batting for the Saints.
Looked like he was from Santa Cruz. That's what we had heard from our right-hand side.
25.
But at last check, it looks like the University of San Diego.
Number 25.
A lot of names here in California that we can easily get mixed up here.
And it's not just the fact that you can get them mixed up. It's you look at all the turnover that is going on in the CCL. I mean, you have a lot of guys who are still making their way to their CCL teams from the super regional. Maybe some of them are actually at Omaha, so they may initially be listed, but then you look at it and you say, okay, well, they're at the College World Series, so they can't make it to their squads. So this one gets bounced home. You have runners on first and second after Cameron Briggs comes across with a walk. And he is over at first. Jacob Jenkins at second. Arroyo Seco is trying to get their first run of the afternoon. It's 10-0 Santa Barbara. Next delivery, a swinging pop-up behind home plate, and it gets to the screen. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Great opportunity for the Saints to get something going here. We've got runners on first and second, and your best bat in the lineup so far, John Thomas, the DH, up at the plate.
We already mentioned his batting average. He's now sitting at around 665 at last check, and he sends this one into center field. Coming around is Jenkins. Jenkins is on his high horse. He's going to get to home and score. First and second, Arroyo Seco. John Thomas comes across with an RBI single, and Arroyo Seco has broken through. It's now 10-1, and Arroyo Seco with nobody out and runners on first and second. As you mentioned, Anthony, no sooner had the words exited your mouth that John Thomas hears you and sends one into center field.
Ground ball right up the middle, and just like that, now we got our first run of the ball game for the Saints. Really getting something going here offensively in the bottom of the third inning. Still no outs. We got these runners on first and second.
Next delivery is up and too high. Tristan Peterson is up next. So Miles Sandrum comes in and immediately gives up the first run of the game that Arroyo Seco has put on the board. Sandrum to the set. He'll take a look over at second, and Peterson taking all the way. And it will go in there for a strike. Crochet gone. He had limited Arroyo Seco to just 2 hits. And now Arroyo Seco already with 2 hits in this inning. This is popped up over and into the crowd over to our right-hand side. Guy who's just sitting in his lawn chair over to the right-hand side didn't even have to move. The ball bounced behind him, hit off the rocks, and bounced into his lap.
Enjoying himself a nice, comfortable evening at the ballpark now that the sun's going down a little bit. Really comfortable temperatures here right now. Great baseball weather.
That it is indeed, because you also look at it and you say, okay, earlier when we arrived at the ballpark, it was around 88 degrees, felt like 94, 95.
I was gonna say, it didn't feel like 88 degrees to me.
Sun was just beaten down. Next up for Sandrum, and that goes well outside. And Peterson stays alive with a 2-ball and 2-strike count. Now all of a sudden it starts dropping, and you're looking at maybe the high 70s, maybe 78, 79 degrees. As we sit just about an hour and 15 minutes off of where the game originally started. And we're in the 3rd inning. Peterson will take all the way as that ball bounces home. Miles Sandum out of the University of San Diego. Hometown of Apple Valley. Sophomore, 6'4", 220. After initially going behind in the count.
Now batting for the Saints. First baseman
Tristan Peterson will work a walk. Now Arroyo Seco has themselves something going. You said it.
Number 32.
They were already cooking things up offensively with nobody gone when they had that single into center field by John Thomas, and the very next batter that comes to the plate, it's a walk for Tristan Peterson. So now you load the bases, nobody out. Cooper Williams coming up to the plate, and you have a chance to not only really drive in some runs, but also get back into the game.
And you said it last inning, long way to go in this one. And I mean, if we've learned anything from the Saints so far in these first couple games, they played till the end. I mean, the other day against San Diego, that ended up being a 14-7 loss, but there's really something to be said for those 7 runs they scored, because a lot of those came late in the game when they were already down. I mean, they trailed in that game probably by about 9 or 10 runs at 1 or 2 points in the game, and so to end up putting up 7 runs, really something to be said for just the effort that they played with, even in a situation where the game was very far out ahead of them.
Lights just turning on here at Jackie Robinson Field. John Thomas entering this game was sitting at 692. Now he's sitting at over 700. That is ridiculous for anyone to bat for any stretch of time. First pitch goes outside to Cooper Williams, and it is now 1 ball and no strikes. 10-1 lead for Santa Barbara, but the bases are loaded for Arroyo Seco. Next delivery just inside for 2-0.
Mention those numbers for John Thomas. I mean, is there any more evidence we need as to why he is designated hitter for this team? Big numbers here so far in these first few games, and that continued.
Cooper Williams takes a strike right down the middle. Scoreboard shows 1-1. It's actually 2-1. Williams with 1 hit in 2 at-bats entering this game. Earlier, he ended up grounding over to second to end the first inning. He offers it this one, just gets a piece and makes it 2-2. Two balls and 1 strike. Delivery to home, and it is sent over towards the right-hand side and into the outfield. 1 run is going to score. Coming across is Cameron Briggs, and now Arroyo Seco has 2 on the board with nobody out, and the bases remain loaded. They go station to station, but it works, and an RBI comes across after Cooper Williams signals to right field.
First baseman Luke Coffey took a dive for that one. It goes right under him, and just like that, Bases still loaded up, and another run on the board here for your Saints.
No outs so far for Arroyo Seco. They have the bases loaded. Nowhere for anyone to go, except to come across. Arroyo Seco is hoping that they can do that. They're down by 8, and McKenzie takes a strike on that outside half. Brennan McKenzie at the dish. Last time up, he struck out swinging in the second inning. Now he's coming up for the second time in as many innings and looking to put some runs on the board. He pops it up. He's going to stay behind third base, getting towards that out-of-play marker, and down at third to make the catch for Santa Barbara will be Ryan Cash. Was he in play? They are going to say that he was indeed. So McKenzie will be retired, and there is out number 1 on the pop-up in foul territory to third.
Drew Cowley.
If in foul territory, as I guess they ruled it is, very close to out of play, because I mean that kind of went out of our view there just a little bit right by the Saints dugout.
And what's interesting about Jackie Robinson Field is right behind where the dugout ends, there's actually an out of play line that goes out towards left field. You have about 15 feet of space as this ball gets all the way to the backstop. Everyone's going to move around, and it will make it another Arroyo Seco run. John Thomas comes across. He will score. So he has an RBI and a run. And now Tristan Peterson to third, and up to second goes Cooper Williams on the wild pitch. Drew Cowley at the plate. And he is currently on the board with no plate appearances, or excuse me, no at-bats. He has 1 plate appearance, and he had a walk. 3 runs come across in this inning so far for Arroyo Seco, as this is fouled straight back into the screen. And it's 10-3. The Arroyo Seco Saints continue to fight here. They were down by 10, now they're only down by 7. 1 ball and 1 strike to Drew Cowley. Stranded on second in the second inning, and he takes just inside for 2-1. Drew Cowley out of Cal Poly Pomona. A true freshman. Last year played in 22 games as a senior at Upland High School. Sends this one over towards the right-hand side and eats up the first baseman for Santa Barbara, Luke Coffey. The throw gets away. Luke Kelly is going to go all the way across to second base. 2 runs will score for Arroyo Seco. Tristan Peterson comes across to score on the initial, what looked like would be a sacrifice. Cooper Williams comes across to score on the error.
I described the way that Santa Barbara had been playing last at the top of the inning. Fundamentally sound. We're talking about them offensively, but these last couple of bats now, just a couple things not so much as fundamentally sound. And just like that, a couple more runs come in, and that lead is now cut in half to what it was at the when they came into this inning.
Interestingly enough, as we will have a pitching change in just a moment, and we'll see who it is for the Foresters that will come in from the bullpen. Interestingly enough, you're only going to see 1 error go into the scorebook, but there is an argument to be made for 2 errors to go into the scorebook. One being on the initial bounce away from Luke Coffey over at first. That allowed 1 run to score. Then the second run comes across to score on the toss away that gets away from the first base, or from the pitcher who comes across to cover. So possible 2 errors to be charged to Santa Barbara on 1 play, but Arroyo Seco will take it. I commit an error here at the broadcast location as we get set for Arroyo Seco, continuing their at-bats here in the 3rd inning.
Your attention, please. Pitching change for the Foresters.
So a pitching change
Now
is going to enter.
From Sam Houston State. Number 10, Brad Demko. Number 10
is the one who gets announced here at Jackie Robinson Field.
Big inning here for the Saints. Just like that, lead cut in half. And we're still in the 3rd inning of the ballgame.
Indeed, and out will go the pitcher, Miles Sandum. So Sandum exits after only getting 1/3 of an inning. 1/3 of an inning, a total of 5 runs come across to score on him. But wouldn't you look at it and say, hey, only 3 of them are earned, according to us here at the broadcast location, by consensus.
I mean, still being in the 3rd inning, a 5-run ball game, certainly not looking like as daunting of a task as things were looking just moments ago when it was double that. So very big inning here for these Saints.
Rally hats over to our left-hand side by our associate staff, we'll say co-workers.
3rd inning of the game, and we got the rally caps going already.
Come back.
10-5 is our score. Sandham will take off. Brad Demko is in. The 6'2" junior, 190. He is a left-handed pitcher out of Sam Houston State. And it continues to be lefties that come in for this Santa Barbara lineup.
Let's play ball.
10-5. Bryce Gray will come up to the plate, and he has a chance to drive in another run. Drew Cowley is on over at second. 3 runs on 2 hits. Actually, you can make it 3 runs on 3 hits. And for us, 2 errors. We'll see whether or not our scorekeepers agree with us. Part of the reason why you would also want to score that as 2 errors is because you have to keep account as to why the second run came in. First run comes in because of the error that gets away from Coffee at first. Then the second run comes across because he tosses it away. You always have to keep account for why runners move up. Can't have a mystery runner that just takes off for no reason. So unofficially here, 2 errors. 3 runs that are earned for Arroyo Seco. The guy out of Notre Dame, Bryce Gray, at the plate. No balls and 2 strikes. Down by 5 are the Saints. Gray watches it as it gets away. Down to third will go Drew Cowley. So Arroyo Seco moving guys across with ease, it seems like, in this one.
Yep, runners in scoring position all inning long, and still just that 1 out on the board.
That is the second wild pitch for a Santa Barbara Forester in this inning. Next delivery as Demko goes into the set. He's going to take a look over at third, and Gray will offer and slice that one into foul ground. It goes a mile into the air and finally lands behind the stadium.
You see, one of the things that really assisted Cowley in being able to move up there, Chase Illig, catcher, really had a hard time spotting that ball when it got away from him.
Next up for Demko, sent towards center, but a snag over at second base for Santa Barbara's Luke Ritter will keep the runner Cowley down to third. So some solid contact for Bryce Gray, and he's smiling to himself because he knows he tagged that one. He just wasn't able to get that one to land.
Yep, solid liner just right there at second.
So a line out to second. That is out number 2, and Colin Shepard, the 9th guy in the lineup for Arroyo Seco to come up to the plate. He will enter and find the first pitch not to his liking, and rightfully so, as it goes in the dirt for 1 ball and no strikes. Shepard last time up, he grounded out to third, and it ended up being a double play. That ended the second inning for Arroyo Seco.
Really can't be overstated how important it is to have a guy like Colin Shepard, especially here, even at the bottom of the order. I mean, just a couple days ago, he was batting leadoff. Really smart batter, and we've seen in this game so far really work the pitch counts. Definitely a guy you want up in a situation like this. You've got to run on third.
Shepard finds this one jammed in on his hands, and he fights it off. The lefty will send it back to the screen. Jacob Jenkins, who's in the on-deck circle, you just saw him moments ago. He came over to pick up that foul ball. And if he were to come up to the plate, it'd be the second time in the inning that he would. Shepard stays alive. Another foul ball. Jenkins will go and retrieve once more. There he goes across your computer screen, number 14 in white for the Arroyo Seco Saints. And once again, you have a chance to look at those beautiful uniforms for Arroyo Seco.
Rocking the all whites tonight.
This one gets away. It's a wild pitch. Coming across to score will be Drew Cowley. The ball gets away. And once again, Illig not able to find it behind home plate.
Yep, never a play to be made on that ball. That one rolled away in toward the Foresters' dugout, and Illig never saw it. Runner easily gets home on that one, and just like that, it's a 6-10 ball game.
You can argue that one was a pass ball because Illig was in front of it. The ball just hops off his knee to the right-hand side. And Colin Shepard will have to duck out of the way of that next pitch as it goes up and in.
A lot of action here packed into these first 3 innings of the ball game. This hard to believe we're in the 3rd inning when we think about all the scoring we've seen, all the base stealing.
10-6 score. Arroyo Seco only down by 4 now. I mean, you and I said it earlier. A lot of games still to be played. We just didn't think that in the 3rd inning, more than half of that lead would be chipped into. Colin Shepard, after going down 0-2 in the count, he's going to run down to first and think about going up to second. So he gets the free pass on the base on ball, but thinks about second base.
Spoke to it with Colin Shepard. Really smart at taking these at-bats, and just like that, worked the pitch count, had it full, and now here he is on first. Ball got away there from Illig once more.
So here's Shepard for the 2nd time in this inning. Arroyo Seco has their leadoff man, who is currently 1 for 2 in the game, and he is 1 for 1 in this 3rd. And he immediately sees that one get away. Illig once again not able to keep it in front of him, and moving up to second is Colin Shepard.
Tough inning for Illig so far. We see him there flat on his stomach there for a moment with the ball rolling away. Actually, really good play by him to even just minimize the damage, only have that runner move up 1. Definitely could have been a lot worse for them. But on the other side of that, we got a runner on second now in scoring position for the Saints.
Here's Shepard, or excuse me, Jenkins. He takes a good hack at it, but just gets a piece and fouls it off to the right-hand side. 1 ball and 1 strike. 10-6 Santa Barbara. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, this is a high-scoring game, but Arroyo Seco's only down by 4. Well, that would minimize what Arroyo Seco has been able to do in this game so far. They were down 10-0, and now they have made it a 10-6 game. Offering at a pitch that was above helmet level was Jacob Jenkins. Tried to go chopping a couple of trees down, but instead, he ends up empty on that rising fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 gone. Next delivery from Demko. Swing and a miss by Jenkins, and that will end the inning. Arroyo Seco comes across with a grand total of 6 runs in the 3rd inning off of just 3 hits. Also a couple of pass balls as well, and 1 runner left on base. We're going to go to the top half of the 4th, an eventful game to say the least. This is Arroyo Seco baseball and a 10-6 lead for Santa Barbara. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. Ryan Osborne, joined by Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. My goodness, Anthony, how we have traversed the scales of baseball altogether.
Your attention, please.
Hit by
Now
pitch
batting
there.
for the Foresters,
Coffee on
left
board
fielder, number 6.
So Coffey's going to walk over to first on the
Number 6.
HBP. That is, if I'm not mistaken, the 4th guy who has gotten hit by a pitch. 3 from Santa Barbara, 1 from Arroyo Seco. Tristan Peterson being the one. And for Santa Barbara, they have Jensen in addition to Coffey and Luke Ritter. All 3 of them have been hit this afternoon. 10-6 score. And it isn't summer baseball until you see one of those double-digit combined scores. We're just going to start off with a double-digit from one team and the other team making their way there. Arroyo Seco with 6, Santa Barbara with 10, 16 combined as that one goes too low for 2 balls and no strikes from Wyatt Kelly as he is delivering to Parker Upton.
Yep, first couple innings not looking great for the Saints, but now just like that, these fans are being treated to some real Crown City baseball right now. 10-6 the score. Back in this one.
Popped up towards left field, taking a couple of steps back is McKenzie. He's underneath it. He'll make the catch, and retreating over at first is Luke Coffey. So Parker Upton, a fly out over towards left field. There is one gone. And up next is Andrew Wiss, and that may be the quickest that we have seen either team getting out in any of these innings.
Yep, and very key here for the Saints getting that out after the hit by pitch. I mean, we've talked about it all game long, how they don't retire that first batter. They haven't retired the first batter until they've already had a runner or 2 on.
Next delivery is a strike.
So this time they let a runner on, but they make up for it by getting next out.
Andrew Wiss is at the plate. No balls and 1 strike, 1 out. Next up, cranked in towards left field. It continues to slice away from McKenzie. He's on a dead run. He makes a sliding catch. Some effort by McKenzie in left field. And he is able to get there in time. Smiles all around the diamond as the Arroyo Seco Saints with a beautiful defensive play in left. And it's now 2 outs.
Well, we've seen a lot of mistakes on defense by both sides today. That by far, best defensive play we've seen so far. Really had to run that one down. Ends up making a great catch.
Once again, we'd like to thank you for joining us, not join you for thanking us. But 10-6 score as this is fouled off to the right-hand side. And it gets on out of play. Top of the lineup now up. Logan Allen is at the plate with a no balls and 1 strike count. 2 outs are on the board. I believe I now have 3 errors so far in this game. So I'm not much better defensively. 4th inning, it's 10-6. Yes, you heard that right, 10-6 through 4. Actually, 10-6 through 3.5. 1 ball and 1 strike, 2 outs. And this is kind of typical of what you will see with some summer baseball. I mean, Arroyo Seco has had a couple of games, one of them a 14-run explosion as this one is sent towards deep center field. Jacob Jenkins is underneath it. He'll make the catch, and that will retire the side with a fly out into center field. We'll get more on that conversation in just a little bit as we come back with the bottom half of the 4th. Our score is 10-6, Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball. We are live from Jackie Robinson Field as we get set for this bottom half of the fourth inning. 10-6 score as the first pitch comes in there from Brad Demko. Jacob Jenkins struck out to end the third inning, and Cameron Briggs is up in the fourth. John Thomas will follow Briggs as a breaking ball goes just a shade low. But before we got to the break, talking momentarily about this type of score, 10-6, is kind of typical for summer baseball leagues. I mean, you think, okay, you have a lot of talent coming around from all of the United States. Swing and a miss, a giant hack that is taken by Cameron Briggs, but he comes up empty at 1-2. But you also don't think of the fact that, hey, this is essentially an all-star team from around the United States. You're looking at talent, good talent from across D1, D2, D3, NAIA, and JUCO ball, all across the U.S. These are guys who can hit. These are guys who can pitch.
So a really good way to look at that. I think just because we, we're a league that's made up of teams and players from countless colleges, I think we tend to forget that. But you're right, it's kind of like, like all-star teams essentially all around.
That's a bouncer that goes low. I mean, you look at the diversity. You think of big-time schools. You think, okay, Notre Dame, that's one. Well, Bryce Gray over to our left-hand side out of Notre Dame. Tennessee is one. Crochet, Garrett Crochet, who is a starting pitcher for Santa Barbara. He's part of that program. Next delivery, a big swing and miss. That will be a strikeout for Cameron Briggs. And next up is John Thomas, part of another big program in the U.S. You look at the NCAA, USC, that he's a part of. That's a big D1 school. You also look at a lot of the junior colleges around the nation as well. Represented this afternoon, you have Grossmont, LA Mission, also for Santa Barbara as well. Last week we saw Fullerton College, who is ranked pretty highly. Orange Coast, all here in Southern California. Earlier we saw Wyatt Kelly out of New Mexico State, also part of New Mexico Junior College. To the stretch goes Demko. He kind of works out of the set every time. And he delivers a fastball in there for a strike, 1-1.
Really want to give the Saints a lot of credit for that last half inning. I mean, the quickest inning of work we've seen them have defensively in this game, and having it come right after their biggest inning offensively really could be a turning point of the game for these guys.
Swing and a miss from John Thomas. Just gets a piece, but it's 1-2. (10-6) score. Santa Barbara. Lights just kind of edging their way to taking control here. Next delivery, that goes outside. Thomas watching wisely as that ends up landing outside of the glove. Looking to retrieve that ball is Brendan McKenzie, who had the beautiful diving, we'll say sliding catch out in left field in the last half inning. Next up from Demko, that stays up and too high. You can hear the buzz of the crowd. Also pick up the buzz from our lights here this afternoon. All sounds of baseball. Families here at Arroyo Seco watching the team as John Thomas will flip the bat and walk up to first after working a base on ball.
Continuing a very successful game for him at the plate.
And I mean, you mentioned that, Anthony. Single, single, walk. He had a single in the first, stranded on second, also had an RBI single in the third, and a walk. So that doesn't go against his average. Now his average stays the same. Brendan McKenzie just gets a piece of it and fouls it off behind the plate over to the right-hand side. And it's no balls and one strike. Sounds of baseball. A ball hitting a wood bat. Gloves making catches. Next delivery, that goes outside.
All part of the things that really make baseball such an enjoyable experience, the sounds of the game.
And a lot of that is lost whenever people think about Major League ballparks as the next delivery is given to McKenzie and he fouls it off. You think of Major League ballparks and that interaction between players and also between the fans and coaches. It all goes away. You don't really have that opportunity to look and say, hey, I can hear the wood bat from where I'm sitting. I can see the rotation of the baseball. That goes outside. And it is 2 balls and 2 strikes with 1 out. But here at the CCL, you have that opportunity to sit behind home plate. I mean, we have people here underneath the awning with us. Fans, you can hear them in the background having a family night out at the baseball game. Fouled over to the right-hand side and just staying underneath it, but dropping it at first base will be Luke Coffey. Pair of errors this afternoon, and he drops this one. It won't go as an error because the runner doesn't move up, but it does go as a drop. He couldn't find where that ball was going to be. It looked like it was going to get out of play, but finally tails its way back in. And finishing up on the atmosphere of the game, you can see family members of players, also some people who are just fans of the Arroyo Seco Saints or the Santa Barbara Foresters. This one is skied into the air and over towards right field. It finally gets caught right at the track by Logan Allen. So it is a fly out to right, and that will be out number 2, and Cooper Williams coming up next.
You talked about we got a family here joining us right behind our awning here, and treating their youngsters to a night at the ballpark, and we always like to see that, like to see them getting the youngsters started early at being interested in the game.
Well, I mean, it's when you talk about that, a lot of people, when they grow up and they think of baseball, sure, you have those major league memories when you go to the ballpark, or whether it even be single A, triple A, double A, as I mess up the order on that, single A, double A, triple A, or major league ballparks. Sure, you have those memories. As Demko goes into the set and delivers to Williams, who takes a looping swing at it, but won't catch it at 0-2. But some earliest memories will be maybe with your dad or your mom, maybe at the local ballpark. Maybe you were playing Little League and your family was there to support you. Family, or whether it be friends, an aunt, an uncle. Those are the times you remember. The days that you go out to the ballpark with your family, with your friends, with acquaintances, and just enjoy time there. Either you're playing, your friend is playing, maybe you know someone who's playing baseball on the team and you're just out having a good time. As that one is a swing and a miss by Williams, he's going to take off over towards first, but he will be tossed out to complete the strikeout. That's going to do it for the bottom half of the 4th inning. We'll go to the 5th. It was the fastest inning we have encountered so far. As we go to 5, it's 10-6, Santa Barbara on top of Arroyo Seco. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. First pitch, swinging, that gets grounded over to short. Picking it up and tossing across is Drew Kelly, and that will be in time to get Luke Ritter We're in the 5th inning between Arroyo Seco and Santa Barbara. And on one pitch, it is a 6-3 grounder for out number 1.
Rader grounds that one right to the shortstop. And for the Saints, I mean, struggled so much getting outs in the first few innings, and now really making up for that, making quick work of these Santa Barbara Foresters batters.
10-6 lead. That is given to the Santa Barbara Foresters. 1 ball and no strikes as John Jensen comes up for the 4th time this afternoon. He got hit by a pitch in the first and stranded on second. Struck out in the second and had a single and a stolen base in the third. That stolen base, not necessarily the most happiest of times for both of these two teams.
Sure.
But we play on. 2 balls and no strikes to John Jensen. Wyatt Kelly delivers outside. Takes a look at his hand after delivering that one. Looks like it may have slipped out. And it's 3 balls and no strikes. 5th inning. Arroyo Seco still has some room to grow and not only get back into this game, but also have a chance to really tie this one up. I mean, you're only sitting 4 runs back. You've already scored 6 in 1 inning alone. So the offense is definitely there. It's definitely alive for Arroyo Seco. I mean, this is a team that has scored 20 runs in their last 2 games combined.
And with what they've been through so far, I think 4 runs probably really doesn't seem that much for them at this point. They've faced a double-digit deficit already in this game, so still with 5 innings of work left to go in this one. Definitely a 4-run game. They'll take that right now.
Loop towards shallow center, back on it, will be making the catch. And Colin Shepard is there for Arroyo Seco. John Jensen pops his way out towards second. There's 2 gone. Chase Illich up next.
Great play there by Colin Shepard. We saw one earlier tonight just kind of die in no man's land, a blooper. And that one there kind of looked like it had the potential. Everybody kind of coming in at that one. But Shepard had control of that one from the get-go and was able to get the out there. And already we got 2 down.
Into the wind goes Kelly, and he'll deliver a strike. No balls and 1 strike. A couple of moments will remind you of where you can keep up with your Arroyo Seco Saints as this season continues to roll on. Actually, now would be the best time to do it. We'll start off with, you can also follow them on Twitter, maybe even Facebook and Instagram as well. On Twitter, that's at Arroyo Seco Base. Or excuse me, Arroyo Seco _ base. And then on Instagram, it is Arroyo Seco Baseball. Facebook is the same as well, Arroyo Seco Baseball. Next delivery by Kelly, it is smacked into right field. That's gonna one-hop the wall. Getting all the way over to it in right to make the grab is Tristan Peterson. He'll toss it back in to the infield, but it is a double with 2 outs on the board by Chase Illich, and he continues his hot hitting. It just doesn't stop as he has himself another extra base hit in this game. Already has the home run under his belt, and now he's on at second.
Great way for Illich here, answer back from a really tough defensive inning he had there in the 3rd inning, bottom of the 3rd. Really accounted for some of those runs that the Saints were able to push across in that inning.
Kelly finds a strike inside. Beautiful sweeping fastball on that one. And he's able to jump ahead in the count. 0-1 to Utah Jones. One of the more unique names that you'll find.
I was going to say, I really would love to hear the reasoning behind the name. You know, I'm really curious when I hear interesting names like that, how his parents decided on that one.
And he chops a high sender to second. It's going to get away. The toss to home, as coming all the way home and getting tagged out was Chase Illich. He tried to be aggressive, but came across a little bit too quickly. And he can't take advantage of Arroyo Seco and their fielder's choice over at first. So that will be out number 3 in unconventional way, but nonetheless, it gets the job done. Arroyo Seco will bat in the bottom half of the 5th. It's still 10-6, Santa Barbara with the lead. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball as we are set for this next part of the inning. We're in the bottom half of the fifth. Up next will be Brennan McKenzie, Drew Cowley, and Bryce Gray. 10-6 lead for Santa Barbara. Ryan Osborne, Anthony Alejandres over to my right-hand side. As Demko delivers, and a huge swing and a miss by McKenzie. As he goes after it, but comes up empty, 2 balls and 1 strike. Going into the wind and bringing it outside is Sam Houston State's Brad Demko. Demko, a 6'2" left-handed pitcher and a sophomore out of Austin, Texas. This is fouled straight back. Made 14 appearances last year, including 1 start with a 3.44 ERA. Struck out 21 batters while limiting opponents to a 2.43 average across 18 1/3. This one goes into the elevator shaft and comes all the way back down behind second base. Or making the catch for Santa Barbara will end up being Luke Ritter.
And for as long as those first few innings lasted in this one, a bunch of hits, a bunch of errors, a bunch of stolen bases. Now we've hit a point of the game now. These last couple innings, really a lot of quick work defensively by both teams.
Demko into the set once more, and this time he will deliver to Drew Cowley. And Cowley takes outside for 1 ball and no strikes. And you talk about it, I mean, it looked like we weren't necessarily moving at a snail's pace because it was exciting baseball. Runs were being scored, moved across, stolen bases. You said it earlier, fundamental baseball was being played, but it was moving rather slowly for a baseball game. I mean, for the first 2 innings to be recorded, it took us over an hour. This is sent towards left field. It's going to get down for a single. Drew Cowley is on for the 3rd time today.
See there, shortstop really thought about leaping up for that one, but I think thought better of it knowing that he was not going to be able to bring that one down. And that one ends up landing in left field for a base hit.
So here comes Bryce Gray, trying to move some runners across. Last time up, absolutely got around on a baseball, but sent it as a liner over to second base. They try and backpick over towards first. It's not going to be in time as Cowley is back safely and standing up. 0-1 count. Defensively, once again, Santa Barbara behind home plate. They have Chase Illich. Over at first is Luke Coffey. And at second is Logan Allen, or excuse me, Luke Ritter. And Gray sends this one as a pop-up over towards shallow right. Trying to get there is Allen. He will get underneath it and camp out to make the catch. A fly out to right field is out number 2, and Colin Shepard up next. Over at third is Ryan Cash. Shortstop is Utah Jones. In left field is Parker Upton. Center field, Andrew Wiss. And Logan Allen, who just made that catch moments ago, is in right. 10-6 score. Arroyo Seco down by 4. Next delivery to Colin Shepard. This time, Illig is able to stay in front of it. We've seen him earlier not be able to get around on that type of baseball and allow it to go all the way to the backstop, but this time he stays in front and keeps it.
Yeah, you said it. Illig, for as great of a game as he's had hitting, struggled a bit at times here defensively, and here's a little bit of an example of that.
Ball gets away right between his legs, and it looked like he had it blocked, but it squeaks by him, so that should officially be a pass ball. Not often at the college level do you see the pass ball really being awarded, and a lot of times it goes as a wild pitch, but in this case, it actually gets through Illig, and it will be a pass ball, so a 2-ball and no strike count to Colin Shepard. Next delivery, that goes too low, and it's 3-0. So now Shepard has a relatively good hitter's count, and that is saying the least. A 3-ball, no strike hitter's count. Strike's got to come across, and it does indeed on that outside half. Nice job by Demko to send that one towards the outside instead of grooving one right down the middle. Colin Shepard not given the green light to go on it. And it's 3-1, runner at second. Next up for Shepard towards that left center field side, but underneath it to make the catch pretty easily for Santa Barbara will be Parker Upton. A fly out to left, and all of a sudden these innings start getting quicker and quicker as we go along. We're going to go to the top half of the 6th. This is Arroyo Seco baseball. We welcome you back to Arroyo Seco baseball right here on the Arroyo Seco baseball channel. And if you have joined us this afternoon, we'd like to thank you for joining us as we take in what is a beautiful day here in Pasadena. It is now cooled to a, well, we'll say the low 70s at this point.
I think so.
Pretty nice day. I mean, you look at the backdrop of Jackie Robinson Field. Behind the outfield wall, it's just an absolute wall of green trees.
Beautiful setting for a night of baseball.
Sunset in the distance. Well, that's well beyond our shoulders here. But you can also see the effects. I mean, the sky is painted in, we'll say, a dull type blue. And then in addition to some shades of pink and orange, your typical California sunset, not sunrise.
Can't beat that view.
J.D. Rusamano, the brand new pitcher, who comes into this one, and he has a 1-1 count to Ryan Cash. Luke Coffey will be behind him, and Parker Upton.
Right-handed pitcher out of Corbin University. Comes to us from Tarzana, California.
Cash sends this one to the left-hand side, and it goes out of play. 10-6 score, a 4-run lead. Ryan Osborne, Anthony Alejandres, over to my right-hand side. As we take in this game that has really started to take off.
A lot of twists and turns in this one, Ryan.
This is fouled off behind the plate. I mean, this is kind of having that pace. Earlier, I and a couple of the other people from our intern staff this afternoon were having a little bit of a hockey conversation before the game. And it almost has that same type of feel where you start off and each team is kind of feeling each other out. They're trying to see what the other pitcher has to present to them as J.D. Rusamano goes into his wind and brings a sweeping breaking ball that stays too far outside, 2-2. Both teams feeling each other out, both teams getting on the board early, but then all of a sudden, everybody kind of slows down. That neutral zone trap steps in, and all of a sudden, you have yourself a quick working last couple of innings. Just inside, right below the kneecaps. Rusamano thought it was strike 3, as did the left-handed dugout for Arroyo Seco, but it goes to 3-2. Looks like someone is in that bullpen for the Forsters. Before the game, we were told that they would go with a more staff mentality this afternoon. As a swing and a miss for J.D. Rusamano on Ryan Cash. That's the first strikeout that we have had for Arroyo Seco since John Jensen in the second inning. First strikeout since the fourth altogether.
And for these fans we talked about earlier, really being treated to what's turned out to be a good game of baseball. Things may have looked a little bleak earlier on, but now here we are, 4-run ball game.
One ball and no strikes, sixth inning. Those of you watching online, you see Luke Coffey, who steps to the plate, slightly open stance, right-handed hitter who takes a huge hack and can't find the baseball. You can see the kid space out beyond the right center field fence. They can see that sunset setting that we were talking about a couple minutes ago. Lights taking effect as well, as this next one is fouled off to the right-hand side. Gets well out of play. And really for Arroyo Seco, it doesn't get much better in terms of placement of where to play baseball. You already have Jackie Robinson Field, and it's already a good enough field. Beautiful field, nice setting, historical marker here in Pasadena. But you also look at the entire little bowl that we're kind of sitting in, as this is up and high for 2 balls and 2 strikes. Right behind our backs, sitting a parking lot away, is the Rose Bowl, the historical Rose Bowl. That has been around for, what is it, nearly or over 100 years, somewhere around that. That has hosted the Rose Bowl game for just about as long. Into the wind, and a delivery to Ryan Cash is the swinging strike 3, 2 straight for J.D. Rusamano.
Just as we've seen some great games here, a lot of great games have happened there across the street.
I mean, you can just go to this last fall. UCLA down by over 35 points to Texas A&M. They come all the way back, and they win it by 3.
Yep, Josh Rosen going to work late in that one. Pulling it out.
Just a historic place, sitting right here. I mean, you wouldn't even think about it. You're driving past here and you go, oh yeah, the Rose Bowl. I've seen some concerts there. I've been there for a seminar or 2, or maybe I've been there for a UCLA game. But you drive right past Jackie Robinson Field. You drive right past the riverbed down over to our right-hand side. Some historical bridges there as well. I mean, this is a part of Pasadena that it almost seems like you can't go 2 miles without seeing something that is either historically marked or it has some sort of significance in history.
And there's a lot of beautiful cities you can visit throughout the whole state of California, and it really doesn't get much better than a place like Pasadena. I mean, you mentioned all the different things from the bridges, the river, and these beautiful ballpark here and the Rose Bowl. Really, there's a lot to offer here at a place like this, just in terms of the scenery.
Sent towards left center field. Jenkins will get underneath the baseball, and he'll make the catch. It's a 1-2-3 inning for Arroyo Seco. For either of these 2 teams, a fly out to center field will do it for out number 3. We're going to come back with the bottom half of the 6th and the top of the lineup due up for Arroyo Seco. It's currently 10-6 with Santa Barbara up by 4 on the Arroyo Seco Saints. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. 10-6 lead for Santa Barbara, but Arroyo Seco is hoping that that won't last for long as the top of the lineup comes up with Jacob Jenkins as he goes back into the batter's box for the 4th time today. He is currently 1 for 3 with 2 strikeouts.
And new pitcher into the game for the Santa Barbara Foresters. Connor Woods, right-handed pitcher out of UNLV. And really, what a contrast we have going right now from the rest of the game. Defensively, this has been a sprint these last couple innings. And I mean, for the first few innings of the game, you talked about the pace, a lot slower, a lot more runs being scored. Now these last few innings, they've really settled in defensively on both sides.
First pitch goes in there for a strike, as does the second one. Quickly 0-2 is Jenkins. Earlier we were talking about different historical markers that currently sit around Pasadena. This one is sent down the third baseline. Jenkins is going to try and turn it into a double. Instead, he'll put on a hard stop and take off as he goes down towards second base. He's going to motor around third and will be awarded third base. The reason being, he was already near second base. They will allow him to move his way up to third. So for Jenkins, it will be a single and an error on the throw. And Arroyo Seco with a runner not only in scoring position, but a guy on third for the first time since the 3rd inning, where they scored 6 runs.
And that all really started there with the third baseman just not being able to make a play on that ball. It came down near him and just ended up bouncing away from him there. Just like that, no outs and a runner on third.
Earlier we were talking about the La Loma Bridge. We'll get to more on that in a second. Cameron Briggs is up, the right-handed batter. He'll foul this one straight back and into the twilight of the night. But earlier we mentioned the bridges that were just off to the right-hand side. 1914, the La Loma Bridge, a bridge that carries La Loma Road across Arroyo Seco, or across the Arroyo Seco.
And if you haven't been here before, what a sight it is to see. When you see those bridges, you know, it's just beautiful.
And in fact, since it was built in 1914, as it's 1 ball and 2 strikes, it replaced the 1898 California Street Bridge, which had closed the year prior due to safety concerns. But all of a sudden, the La Loma Bridge comes around. And for the first several years of its existence, as the next pitch goes up and high for 2-2, it crossed paths with Pasadena's Colorado Street Bridge. In fact, the La Loma Bridge was called the little sister of the other one. They were the only 2 crossings of the Arroyo Seco in Pasadena. Next delivery, that goes way high and nearly into the helmet of Cameron Briggs, who was named as a National Register of Historic Places, or to the National Register of Historic Places on July the 14th of 2004. Played a significant role in the development of West Pasadena, as this one is sent down the first base side. Briggs is going to try and dig out a single, but instead a run comes across to score. It's a sacrifice that will work, and Arroyo Seco continues to chip away at the lead. The sacrifice makes it 10-7.
From USC, number 25, John.
Don't imagine they were ever going to be able to make a play at home there. I feel like that run was going to score regardless, but we saw the first baseman took him a second there to get a hold of that ball and really took away all doubt in our minds as to where they were going to go to get that out.
Immediately offering at the first pitch is John Thomas, and he fouls it off. A 10-7 lead. We've been stuck at 10-6 since the 3rd, but now Arroyo Seco, they start off with Jacob Jenkins getting on with a single as John Thomas grounds this one into fair territory down the first base side.
How is that a fair ball?
And the reason why it's a fair ball is because, as you hear in the background, there is a guy behind us who says, how is that a fair ball? The reason why is because it bounces down the first base line. Now, Does it bounce into foul territory? Yes. However, it took one hop behind first base, which is deemed fair ground. And if it takes a hop behind first base and kicks out into foul territory, it is officially fair.
Yep, and that first baseman really had to reach on that one there to get a hold of that ball. And, well, records the out.
First one bounces in. So we have 2 outs after the ground out over to first. John Thomas, for the first time in what seems like forever, is not at least standing on first base. 10-7 lead for Santa Barbara. It's a 3-run advantage, 2-0 now to Tristan Peterson. Next delivery as Peterson sees this one into the wind, and a strike is called at 2-1. Next up would be Cooper Williams. Peterson this afternoon hit by a pitch in the first. Also had a walk in the third, came around to score, and flew out to right field. And he finds a called strike. So now you have 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. 10-7 Santa Barbara. On the mound is Connor Woods, as Anthony mentioned earlier. Woods to the set and delivers. That is way up and high. They tried to get him to chase, but he holds back in time. Nice job by Peterson. A couple of days ago, Arroyo Seco. This is a looking strike 3 call for Tristan Peterson. That's going to end the 6th. We were about to talk about Arroyo Seco's big-time win. We'll get more to it when we come back. Our score is 10-7, a 3-run lead for the Santa Barbara Foresters. This is Arroyo Seco baseball. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. 15th year anniversary of Arroyo Seco baseball. 2nd year in the CCL. Last year, very narrowly missing the postseason. Not a spot that many would have predicted them to be at, but nonetheless, they just end up missing the postseason in the CCL after going 19-17. So this one goes above the letters to Andrew Wiss, who is the final batter in the lineup for Santa Barbara. After that, it'll go up to Logan Allen and Luke Ritter. 10-7 lead, 1-1 count. J.D. Rusamano back onto the mound, and this one is smacked foul left-hand side.
Talked about this game being kind of a sprint these last few innings defensively, just making quick work each inning. Happened again last half inning. Fortunately, though, the Saints were able to push across another run, make it that much closer, just chipping away at that lead.
There goes a 2-ball, 2-strike count to the outside. And you talk about just chipping away at the lead. While you would love to get all those runs back in a single inning, you have the time and the space to be able to kind of set things up offensively in the next 3 innings. I mean, you're only down by 3 at 10-7. So assuming that Arroyo Seco is able to hold Santa Barbara to no runs the rest of the way, you need 1 run per inning on average. Of course, a swing and a miss by Andrew Wiss, and those are 3 strikeouts in the last 4 batters faced for Brad Demko, or excuse me, J.D. Rusamano.
One of the interesting things, just looking back on this game, Garrett Crochet, who started the game for the Foresters, to me, I mean, he had a really good game going, and it kind of felt like just a case of, I mean, they just had a huge lead and really just a good opportunity to, you know, not overexert him and put some other pitchers in, and, well, we have a ball game again.
And you talk about that earlier. We mentioned the fact that we were told it'd be more of a staff type situation, that Crochet was only going to be allowed to go around 2 innings, and that he did. He went exactly 2. Next up for Rusamano, and it gets fouled off to the right-hand side, making it 1 ball and 1 strike. Arroyo Seco down by 3. If you think to yourself, well, that's pretty manageable, but what's so special about being down just by 3? I mean, it's a 3-run lead. People come back from 3-run leads all the time. That they do. Not many of them came back from down by 10. Next delivery, that is fouled towards the right-hand side. It keeps creeping away from the first baseman for Arroyo Seco, Cooper Williams, and it finally tails out of play.
Yeah, double-digit deficit they faced at one point in this ball game. Really, really crazy to think how we got to this point now at a 7-10 ball game.
I mean, you look at the way that the first inning started off for Arroyo Seco. 5 runs across for Santa Barbara. It was, or excuse me, 4 runs across for Santa Barbara. It was 4-0 after 1. Bases were loaded twice, and this one goes out towards right field once more. Underneath it to make the catch in right will be Tristan Peterson. And he will toss it back in. 2 straight outs that are delivered for Arroyo Seco in this inning.
One of the keys right now that has really been working for the Saints in this one lately, they've kept the runners off the bases, and that's really huge because they were stealing bases like crazy early in this ball game as a result of, you know, the base hits, the hit by pitches. A single easily could have turned into a runner at third just with how bases were being stolen in this one. So now these pitchers are dealing, and they're not really having to worry about that.
10-7, 0-1 at the plate to Luke Ritter. He is up for the 5th time today. A single, a hit by pitch, a walk, and a grounder. He takes the next pitch all the way for 0-2. J.D. Rusamano, since coming in, has been pretty electric. 3 strikeouts in 5 batters faced. And the next delivery is sent down to third and right on through. So as I jinx it, there's now a runner over at first. Luke Ritter, for the 4th time today, is able to get on, and he is now a grand total of 2 for 2. Actually make it 2 for 3 after he had the ground out in the 5th.
Yeah, Cameron Briggs and Drew Calley both kind of coming in for that one, and it ends up getting right between the 2 of them for a single. And so they got a runner on now with 2 outs.
J.D. Rusamano, for the first time in this game, granted he's only worked an inning and 2/3. For the first time, he will go into the stretch and delivers to the outside corner for a strike. He has looked good. We'd like to remind you of the upcoming schedule for the Arroyo Seco Saints. After tonight's game, they will be playing tomorrow night at 6:05 against these very same Santa Barbara Foresters. Toss over to first on the pickoff attempt. It is not in time, and getting back is Luke Ritter. So after tomorrow at 6:05, then they will play the Ventura County Pirates, the affiliate program, at 4:30. That is on Thursday the 14th at Ventura. And then at Orange County Riptide for the 15th. In fact, for the next 3 games after tomorrow night, All of them will be away. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. So it'll be at Ventura County, at OC Riptide, which is down at Fullerton College. Still within range of those of you who live here in Southern California. And then at 6 p.m., the MLB Academy Barons will be hosting the Arroyo Seco Saints on Saturday. That one looked like it crept back into the zone. Bryce Gray thought it was going to be up and out, but he had to readjust as J.D. Rusamano ends up bringing a breaking ball right back down inside the zone. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And of course, needing no reminder for everybody is that this upcoming Sunday is Father's Day. So no games. As Bryce Gray tosses down to second, it won't be in time. The tag gets away, as does the ball. And it's a stolen base for the first time since the 3rd. Kind of a hot topic around here.
Yeah, we talked about it moments ago. That's kind of been the key here to them making quick work of these innings. Not letting any runners on has allowed them to not allow any stolen bases, because that was really a big point of the game the first few innings. Now, for the first time in a couple innings, a runner's on, and what do you know? Another stolen base.
10-7, Santa Barbara is not trying to get back into this one. They're trying to lengthen their lead. They are up by 3 at 10-7. We're in the top half of the 7th inning. Arroyo Seco coming up to the plate next. They'll have Cooper Williams, Brendan McKenzie, and Drew Cowley. But that will be once we get to the bottom of the 7th. Right now it's a 2-2 count with 2 gone. J.D. Rusamano takes a look over at second. And this one is offered at and fouled well behind home plate and way out of play towards that Rose Bowl parking lot.
Yep, well clear of the seats here. You gotta hope nobody's windshields caught that one.
Rusamano into the set. He'll deliver home a breaking ball that is straight back and going right for some fans and into the shrubbery that is behind here. Best way to describe it, I don't know.
Best of luck to operations finding that one.
It did disappear right into a bush. I'll give you that. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. When you look at that upcoming schedule, as we talked about a couple minutes ago, for Arroyo Seco, of their next 8 games, looks like a grand total of 5 will be on the road, 3 at home. Next delivery on a 2-2. Instead, it's a turnaround over towards second, as Rusamano wasn't happy with the lead that was being taken at second base by Luke Ritter.
A couple of these upcoming road games are in our very own backyards here. For you, we got Orange County, and then for me, MLB Academy Barons the very next day. So homecoming games for us, if you will.
Rusamano to home. This one is fouled off behind the screen once more. I mean, you mentioned that, them being kind of home games. Or not home games for Arroyo Seco, but at least for us. For me, Orange County Riptide is right down the street. Maybe the broadcaster for Cal State Fullerton as well. They play at Fullerton College. That's only a 5-minute drive, depending on how Chapman Avenue treats you. And then for MLB Academy, that's near where you yourself go to school at Dominguez Hills.
Yep, just across the highway from Carson, California. MLB Urban Youth Academy in Compton.
Swing and a miss by John Jensen will end it. So we're going to go to the top half, or make it the bottom half of the 7th as we finish stretch time. 10-7 lead for Santa Barbara. This is Arroyo Seco baseball. It's always a good night for baseball. And tonight, that is still in effect. Whenever baseball is being played, all is right in the world, and the world continues to turn. Seems deep, but Cooper Williams at the bat is trying to dig into that, what initially was a very deep lead for Santa Barbara. We said it earlier, a 10-run lead for Santa Barbara has now been not necessarily erased, but it has been diminished pretty heavily as a hit by pitch will be delivered and Cooper Williams will move his way up to first base. That's what Arroyo Seco not only wants, but they need.
Left fielder from Cal Poly.
I mean, when it was a 10-run lead, we were thinking, okay, they need base runners, they need runs. Then when they brought it back to 10-6, it kind of changed the narrative. It was, okay, they like more runners, they like more runs because they're still behind by 4. And then now it's kind of shifted back to, hey, we're in the late innings. There's only 9 outs left to go for Arroyo Seco to get back into this 3-run lead for Santa Barbara. So that quick little honeymoon time, that took place after the 6-run inning in the 3rd for Arroyo Seco is over. And to the plate is Drew Cowley. And he's trying to extend that lead with Cooper Williams on at first. Brennan McKenzie is the one who's up, and he takes outside. McKenzie came into tonight batting .091. Things haven't gotten much better. He has struck out in the 2nd, popped up to 3rd and 2nd, and he swings and misses at this one.
Flashed some great defensive skills, though, earlier in this ball game. Making that play there down the left field line, had a lot of ground to cover, showed off some speed. Definitely made his mark in the game in that department.
This delivery to McKenzie, that goes eye level and stays too high. Brad Demko is on the mound currently for Santa Barbara. And of course, as you said, defensively, really good for McKenzie this afternoon. The bat leaving a little bit to be lacking, but he sends this one towards center field. It's going to be a shallow fly into center, and a fly out makes it an 0 for 4 night for McKenzie. 1 gone, and still a runner at first. But this is the perfect league and the perfect time, and the exact situation why guys come out to the CCL. This is why they come out to play for Arroyo Seco and in these college summer leagues, because they have a chance to improve their batting, or whether it be their fielding. If they feel that something is deficient in their game, then they have a chance to come out here and specifically work on it without having the pressure of having that NCAA Division I, II, or III, NAIA, or JUCO season being on the line. This one goes low, not to mention if they want to get looked at professionally as well. It's a wood bat league, so it kind of eases the transition a little more, going from metal bats to wood bats as well. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Definitely love that this is a wood bat league, too. Who doesn't love that sound?
Slapped over towards that left-hand side. Love to hear the ash hit the bat. Maybe it be maple as well. Some pine, but that's not too often. A lot of guys prefer the sturdiness of ash. But maple's starting to not necessarily make a comeback, but be a little bit more prevalent in these type of leagues as well. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 1 out. Not to mention, it also gives you a chance to use the pine tar halfway off the bat. Specifically what we see here with Drew Cowley, who's at the plate with a 1 ball and 2 strike count. Pine tar, as this next pitch comes in from Demko, and it's fouled straight back. Pine tar on a metal bat just doesn't seem right. Pine tar on a pine or ash bat, or a maple bat, everything's good. It's natural. 10-7, 3-run lead for Santa Barbara. Grounded over to third. Picking it up is Cash. He'll toss over to first. It is in time to clip Cowley. And moving up to second will be Cooper Williams. So officially it goes down as a sacrifice, 5-3, 2 gone. And Bryce Gray up next.
Your attention, please. Now batting for the Saints. Catcher from Notre Dame, number 5, Bryce Gray, number 5.
In these CCL games, they also, as we said earlier, it gives you a chance to improve on your game, but it also has that feeling that whenever a guy comes up to the plate, not only, sure, his team is behind him, he's part of the team, and you feel that team atmosphere, but you're also getting that feel of, it almost feels like a time in the cage with an instructor. But instead, it's live at-bats. You're getting that chance to step up to the plate in a meaningful situation and work on something specifically. You're a batter who doesn't like that outside pitch, and you feel like you need to shore that up before you move on to that next level. You can do that here because you're going to be pitched away. If you feel like you have a lot of trouble swinging on breaking balls that are in the dirt, you have the chance with live pitching here. So this one goes outside, 1-2. You have a chance here to try and stay away from those pitches. All about improvement. This is sent towards center field. It keeps tailing away for a second in center for Andrew Wiss, but instead he will get underneath it and make the catch. That's going to end the inning. There's out number 3. We go to the top of the 8th. Arroyo Seco is now down to their final 6 outs to chop into that 3-run lead that Santa Barbara has. This is Arroyo Seco baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Leading off for the Foresters, catcher from West Virginia, number 50, Chase Illig.
Chase Illig will start things off for Santa Barbara. You are listening and watching live. You're on Arroyo Seco Baseball, their YouTube page. Ryan Osborne, Anthony Alejandres over to my right. 10-7 lead for Santa Barbara. Well, right now, J.D. Rusamano, who's currently on the mound for the Arroyo Seco Saints, is trying to keep that lead from extending itself. 3 runs. That is the advantage for Santa Barbara. It's a 2-ball, no strike count. Coach Bueller to our left-hand side watching on. As Rusamano works pretty efficiently and gives a strike to Illig right over the middle. Got some breaking stuff on it. Now it makes it 2 balls, 1 strike. Lights in full effect. As Rusumano delivers, and that goes well outside. Now, we mentioned while I was on the air with Alex Scar last weekend during opening night, we mentioned the fact that since the Lights take over at Jackie Robinson Field, they absolutely grab hold of this area. As this is smack towards right field, it will be a single that lands right in front of right fielder Tristan Peterson. So quickly, Illig once again gets on base, and the man is just unstoppable. There's a hit in the inning, and we are in the 8th with a runner on first. But part of the reason why it gets so dark out there, specifically looking to the outfield, is there's something missing. There are no streets out there, or at least there are some streets, but you're not going to find actual avenues or boulevards, so there won't be any street lights. There are a few houses out in center and left center field, but there aren't enough to where you can say, okay, the porch lights overall, in addition to some lights maybe in front of the garage or coming from the house, that light up the area. Instead, it's all trees out there that you can see. So everything, that backdrop, just gets darker and darker as the night wears on. And then once the lights turn on here, your eyes kind of focus in on where that light is coming from, and they just kind of blur out everything that's beyond the light's reach. 0-2.
Interesting point there, too, because I think that when it comes to ballparks, people really pay a lot of attention to what they're seeing beyond the outfield at ballparks. Because, I mean, especially watching, Major League games on television, you just see some really beautiful surroundings to these ballparks. I think of, not too far from us, Petco Park, seeing the view of downtown San Diego, beautiful setting. AT&T Park in San Francisco, you're seeing the water. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, just, view of the bridge and beautiful downtown Pittsburgh.
Next delivery right down to short. They're going to toss to a 2. Won't have a chance at 1. That throw is a little bit high from Drew Cowley, but they do get the force out over at second. 1 is gone on the fielder's choice, and over to first goes Utah Jones. Ryan Cash up next. And sticking with Southern California, I mean, you can look at Dodger Stadium. The view from there, not as nice as if home plate were to be reversed with center field. Then you would see the entire LA Basin and on towards San Pedro and Long Beach as well towards the Pacific Ocean. But nonetheless, you can see Chavez Ravine as a pickoff attempt over at first is not in time. Cooper Williams able to stay out in front of that ball and keep it trapped. Angel Stadium as well. You can see pretty far from there. I mean, you look into center field, you can see Honda Center right in front of you, and also the Anaheim Hills ranging around. In addition to Orange, all the way to Fullerton, you can see. 10-7 lead, runner on first. This one goes in there for a strike. One thing that not too many people know about Dodger Stadium and the view that you were just talking about. Did you know that there is an entire 18-round disc golf course beyond right center field?
I had no idea.
Just beyond the parking lot.
That's interesting. I had no idea.
That goes outside and all the way to the backstop. Looking to move around to third and taking a long round at second base is Utah Jones. So he does move on the pass ball. That gets by Bryce Gray. And there's a runner on second in scoring position. Again, 18-round disc golf course that yearly there is the Chavez Ravine tournament that takes place there. And it's fun. I had no idea it was there until I was invited to play it. And then I show up, and on, I believe it was hole number 3, you're looking directly into center field for Dodger Stadium. Because it's on that little ravine-type hill. You're actually throwing on the side of the hill. So there are times that it is open when Dodger games are going on during the early afternoons, as it's 1 ball and 2 strikes currently to Ryan Cash. And it's funny because on those opportunities that you're there, let's say you're playing rounds or round number 1 and you're on hole number 5. If you time it right, this one is sent towards deep center field. Jenkins is underneath it. He'll make the side-handed catch and toss the third, keeping the runner over at second in Utah Jones. So a fly out to center field is out number 2.
Your attention, please. Now batting for the Foresters.
On occasions, there will be times where you'll be putting. You miss the chains, and all of a sudden from your left, you hear people booing. Not because they're booing you, but they're reacting to the game. But you don't realize it until you actually hear the sound. Just interesting things to know about different ballparks. I mean, you look at PNC Field, as you said, out in Pittsburgh. You can see the river over beyond the right field fence. Bounced up towards center field, picking it up and tossing to first. A beautiful play that is made over at second base, and it will be done by Colin Shepard. He'll get us out of the inning, and to the bottom of the 8th we go. It's still a 3-run lead for Santa Barbara, but a nice defensive pick and toss by Colin Shepard at second gets us to the bottom of the 8th. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco baseball. And we're going to get some defensive changes. I'll go over the defense and we'll get the new pitcher from Anthony in just a second. So it looks like we're going to have Luke Ritter move over from second, and he will now take over at first. And on at second base now will be Christian Gambale out of Air Force, the sophomore, 5'10", 165, right-handed hitter. So he will take over at second base. And that means Luke Coffey will be taking off for the ninth as Gambale comes in for him.
And Jackson Wolf now on the mound for the Santa Barbara Foresters. Add him to the list of great names in this game tonight, along with Utah Jones. Jackson Wolf, left-handed pitcher out of West Virginia.
You mentioned that, and there are a lot of names that either are unique, they flow really well, like Jacob Jenkins, Utah Jones, as you said. We just got a guy called Christian Gambale, J.D. Rusamano.
That's my favorite one to say, J.D. Rusamano.
I mean, you mentioned it before he actually came in, and we saw on the I guess not the roster, but the Arroyo Seco listing, JD, but initially he was listed as Jonathan. So if you go Jonathan Rusamano, that's an even, not necessarily longer, but more fun name to say?
Yeah, a little bit of a mouthful. Jonathan Rusamano. Either way, fun to say.
Colin Shepard will be followed by Jacob Jenkins and Cameron Briggs.
And I got to say, Utah Jones, at some point in his baseball career, his name is too perfect not to play for a team like the Salt Lake Bees in AAA baseball. I mean, the people from Salt Lake will love that.
Toss over to first. Beautiful pick and toss at first base. That is presented by the brand new second baseman, Christian Gambale. As soon as he comes into the game, he is immediately tested as Colin Shepard goes running down that first base line, and he gets tossed out by Christian Gambale. So immediately you enter in and you get tested to start off with.
Jacob Jenkins.
And Jacob Jenkins will be up next. One thing to note, they threw the first pitch as Colin Shepard was still walking his way down to the dugout. He was maybe 10 feet away from the batter's box.
Jackson Wolf is in a hurry. Double parked.
Hey, we have heard these Pasadena guys, they do give out tickets. Swing and a miss. Looks like Wolf, just from an initial standpoint, has a little bit more giddy up on that fastball than we saw more recently. 1 ball and 2 strike count. Left-handed delivery, swing and a miss. Jenkins not ready for the fastball, down and away. And that will be strikeout number 3 for Jacob Jenkins. He has struggled with the strikeout in the last 5 days. Cameron Briggs up next.
Number 6, Cameron Briggs. Number 6.
3-run lead for Santa Barbara. And to the mound goes Wolf. For Jackson Wolf, he's a 6'7", 205-pound sophomore, lefty thrower out of West Virginia. 6'7".
Big guys pitching tonight for the Foresters.
I mean, you talk about that. Their starting pitcher was 6'5". That was Garrett Crochet. Miles Sundrum was 6'4". Brad Demko feels like the smaller guy in that lineup just for being 6'2". And then now you have 6'7" Jackson Wolf up. 2 balls and 1 strike. With 2 gone very quickly, and Cameron Briggs at the plate. Forster still up by 3. Next delivery, swing and a miss. This is like that situation when you're about to go up to the cages. You keep going in that 70-mile-per-hour range. You're pretty comfortable there. You're used to it. Then you go into that 80 cage, and it feels like 100-mile-an-hour fastballs whizzing right by you. A little bit more giddy up, and a swing and a miss, and the bat goes a-flying. You can see the effort by Arroyo Seco trying to get back to those baseballs, but they are just not able to catch up in time. We're going to go to our final inning of play. To the top of the 9 we go. It's still a 3-run lead at 10-7 for the Santa Barbara Foresters. This is Arroyo Seco baseball. Welcome back to Arroyo Seco Baseball, and boy, do we have some numbers to throw at you here in just a little bit. But first, let's get to that pitching change by Anthony.
Jesse Reed coming into the game now for the Arroyo Seco Saints. Right-handed pitcher out of Temple College, comes to us from Austin, Texas.
So earlier we were talking about that batting cage and stepping from 70 to 80 and feeling like it's 100 miles per hour. Toss over to first will be in time as Cooper Williams is able to stay on the bag after the toss. 1-3 is recorded by Christian Gambali as he tried to bunt for a base hit. It's 1 out. We talked to the guys over to our right-hand side who are kind of doing the scouting report this afternoon and putting down what they see pitching-wise from the opposing side. And we thought, personally, okay, well, the last guy who was up that we just saw, Jackson Wolf, it felt like he was throwing maybe 90, 91, maybe quicker, because we saw 2 straight strikeouts that Arroyo Seco batters just didn't look like they were on top of that baseball. It felt like it had a lot more to give in terms of miles per hour. Well, that wasn't the case. Brad Demko was bringing it. We just didn't know how quickly he was bringing it to the plate.
You got that right.
I mean, you look at the numerical value that we just heard about Jackson Wolf, high 80s. Brad Demko, 94 is what he was reaching. 10-7 lead. Oh, no balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Reed, delivery, swing and a miss. Down will go Parker Upton.
Your attention, please. Now batting for the Foresters right fielder.
So here comes
Logan
Andrew Witt,
Allen,
or excuse me,
number 17.
Logan Allen. So Allen will be up next. And we're talking about that velocity change. So it's not like stepping from that 70 to 80 cage. In fact, it just feels like you're stepping from an 80 cage to another 80 cage. And the reason being, if you feel a guy who's throwing 94, 93 miles per hour, and then you step into another guy who's 6'7", but throwing at around high 80s, we'll say 88, 89. However, a good point was made over to our right-hand side by one of the Arroyo Seco Saints who is doing the scouting this afternoon. A 6'7" guy is going to release the ball a lot closer to home plate than a guy who's maybe 5'10", 5'11". Actually, we said that Demko was around 5 or 6'2", not 5'2". But 6'2", it's a lot closer to the pitcher's mound, and the batter has a lot more time to react. This guy who's 6'7" may only be throwing 88, 89, but that's getting to the plate like 92, 93. Next delivery, that goes low. 10-7 lead for Santa Barbara. 3 runs. Now it's 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. You got to think it's tough for these batters to go against 94, let alone a 6'7" guy, not to mention the 6'5" guy, and the 6'4" guy. All of them delivering as close as possible to home plate. Next delivery, that bounces home. Bryce Gray, nice stop in front of home plate. We want to thank everyone who has been joining us online, watching or listening. Next up from Reed. That is chopped down towards third. Is it in fair territory? It is not. As making the charge onto the baseball is Cameron Briggs. It's in foul ground, so we are in the 9th inning. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 10-7 lead. 3-run up for Santa Barbara. They have no one on. And at the plate is Logan Allen. Allen so far 3 for 5. 3 singles, 2 flyouts. Now he sends this one over to second, and an error is committed. He's going to think about taking 2. He will indeed. The toss to second. It won't be in time as the slide is there. Logan Allen with speed is able to take advantage of the error And now the question is, what are they going to award on the second base taken? What's your opinion there, Anthony?
Now batting for the
Gosh, I mean, Colin Shepard really should have been able to make the play there for one thing. Ends up kicking that one off, and, well, as a result, we got a runner in scoring position now. A tough spot to be in right now, especially at this point in the game. You still, you still got 3 outs left with the possibility of making a comeback in this one. 3-run ball game. Definitely don't want to see something like that happen this late in the game, especially when they were able to get these first 2 outs to start the inning without letting any runners on.
This is into center field. Getting to it is Jenkins. He's going to get behind it and toss to home. Here comes the throw. It will not be in time. Gray is able to realize that it won't get there. It's a single, an advancement on the throw. Logan Allen comes across to score, so that error, just as you said, you hope it doesn't prove costly. Well, it does indeed. And now Arroyo Seco is looking at a 4-run deficit once again. It's 11-7 Santa Barbara.
And there ends 7 unanswered runs there for the Saints that have gone before that. So a game of scoring runs, interestingly enough, almost like a game of basketball, you know. We had Santa Barbara get out on a scoring run to start this game.
This is chopped over to first. Williams will take it himself after an initial stumble. But Santa Barbara not only gets on the board, but they really put a little edge into the hopes of the Arroyo Seco Saints. We'll see whether or not the Saints can get back and tie this one up in the 9th inning. This is Arroyo Seco baseball on the air. We welcome you back to Arroyo Seco baseball. We are in the bottom half of the 9th inning, and boy, will it be important for Arroyo Seco to get some runs on the board here. 11-7 score, Santa Barbara up by 4, but the meat of the order for Arroyo Seco to the plate in John Thomas, Tristan Peterson, and Cooper Williams, but they'll all be taking on a brand new pitcher as John Thomas takes up high and in there for in the zone for 0-1.
And Chase Wallace on the mound now for the Santa Barbara Foresters, right-handed pitcher out of Tennessee. And I got to say, when you need a rally, you can't ask for a better guy to be at the plate for the Saints than John Thomas.
John Thomas, we said it earlier, entered this game with a .692 average. Then the game started. He had 2 singles, grounded out once, and had a walk. So officially, he is 2 for 3 in this one and fouls it back for 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Guy who's played a big part tonight in the rallies that they've made in this game that keep them still in a position here to contend even in the 9th, you know, trailing by 4 runs when you consider where they were earlier on in this ball game.
Next delivery to Thomas. He sends this one a rocket shot down the third base side, but it goes into foul ground. 11-7, 4-run lead. Arroyo Seco not only needs base runners, but they need runs in a hurry. Coach Bueller delivers the baseballs himself down that third base side. You always love to see a coach who is involved in every aspect of the game. Coach Bueller has done an excellent job here in the city of Los Angeles, or down the road in the city of Los Angeles. We're in Pasadena. As Thomas fouls this one off into the trees behind home plate. And sounds like it may have hit a car.
Yep. We can hear it, and, well, it's not the kind of, not exactly who you want making the catch, but, I mean, at least for our operations crew, they'll have an easier time finding that baseball.
Shot towards short, but making the, we'll say not necessarily leaping grab, but hopping grab over at short is Utah Jones. Well, you know, we've been talking about him all day, and his spectacular name leads him into a spectacular catch. A liner over to short, and there is out number 1. Arroyo Seco down to their last 2 outs.
Hey, Ryan, did you park back there?
I did not. I parked as far away into the main parking lot as I possibly could.
I did the same thing. I think about it every time I come here. I'm like, you know what? I can't park right there because it's going to happen one of these games.
And just knowing my luck, I'm going to get a foul ball that's going to travel 300 feet to my car. 11-7 score. 1 ball and no strikes to Tristan Peterson. You got to think with a car that it did hit. You're looking at the windows being hit.
Mm-hmm.
At most likely.
Yep.
And then really, if you're honest with yourself, you'd rather have the windows be hit, because that is a cheaper repair than a body shop or a body dent would be.
Yep. And you talked about, you know, the ambiance to a baseball game earlier on, you know, getting to come to a game and, you know, hear the, as we got a hit by pitch here, but you talked about some of the noises we get to hear at these games. Add this to the list here, a car that just got taken out by a foul ball.
A silver Toyota's alarm is going off, so it's your car. Please take care of that. And now batting.
Got confirmed now it's a silver Toyota, if that adds any more to, you know, this picture we've painted here to the situation.
That was a very quick alarm takeout. Now you got to wonder what that person's thinking.
I hope it wasn't an intern, because that's some tough luck, you know. Interns have it tough enough already.
I'll give you that, as this one is chopped over to second. Utah Jones will take it himself and toss to first. That's going to end the game on a double play over to short. So our final score tonight, 11-7. The Santa Barbara Foresters come away with a victory, and that will drop down the Arroyo Seco Saints to a total of 2-3 this year. And for the Santa Barbara Foresters, they go up to 3-0, actually make it 4-0 and 2-0 in league play. Anthony, Arroyo Seco, it's really that start of the game that puts them under.
Absolutely right. You know, just a tough start to the game. Runners on bases the whole way through the first few innings, pitching out of the stretch the whole time. And really just the tough part of this game was all the stolen bases early in the game. And you got to think about how many runs that really could have accounted for, because it really played a part in this one. But I really want to speak to the resiliency of the Arroyo Seco Saints in this one, because, I mean, we talked about it just with the last home game here, a game that many could have viewed as lost early on, and they still end up scoring a lot of runs. And in this one, double-digit deficit, and you end up in a 3-run ball game for most of it. In the final few innings, end up losing by 4. They still made a ball game out of it.
And you talk about making a ball game out of it. They had that 6-run third that's not only resiliency, that's telling yourself, look, it's a 10-run lead, but we know for a fact that we can get back into this game. So that's a strong mental makeup as well for Coach Bueller's staff.
Certainly, and there's a lot of bright spots to look at in this game. I feel like as the game went on, it became less about issues defensively in the game, because I feel like that was part of the shortcomings early on. Late in the game, we didn't really see so much of that, and really it played a big part in them getting back into this ball game.
So final totals for Arroyo Seco. They come away with a total of 7 runs. Tabulating it up, they hit a grand total of 8 hits on the afternoon. Santa Barbara, they come away with 11 runs on a grand total of 13 hits this afternoon, and they also capitalized on a couple of errors as well, as did Arroyo Seco. So our final score, 11-7. Anthony, tomorrow night we will have Santa Barbara back here at Jackie Robinson Field, taking on the Arroyo Seco Saints once again, or let me not be so redundant. 6:05 tomorrow night. Santa Barbara will be here against the Arroyo Seco Saints for the second time in 2 nights. Anthony, till then, Arroyo Seco 11-7. They end up dropping this one. They once again go down to 2-3. Santa Barbara is now 4-0. So for Anthony Alejandres, I am Ryan Osborne saying so long and good night from Jackie Robinson Field, where the Arroyo Seco Saints end up dropping this one by a final of 11-7. Join us tomorrow night, where Santa Barbara will be back here at Jackie Robinson Field to take on Arroyo Seco. Good night.